see us, but they'll know we're laughing about this. Bow chicka bow bow music. Don't look behind the curtain, people. Don't look behind the curtain. Okay, so the announcements are out. Folks will be joining momentarily. Wow, StreamYard. It's called Feeding the Ducks. It sounds very innocent, but I don't know what kind of ducks are being fed here. Okay, so we are on time. So
maybe it's a euphemism,
right? Well, welcome, folks. It is the top of the hour. We have a huge lineup for you today. It is a marathon Thursday of streaming. So for this first hour, we have Duet Gaming, which is hosted by these lovely people here. I'll let Jodi introduce them when she takes over. But because I live in a basement all alone, I will escort myself out the door for the Duet Gaming part. And in 1 hour, we'll meet you back here. So you don't have to leave. You can just stay on this for the whole 3 hours. So the first hour is Duet Gaming. Second hour, we're going to kick off the end of the Pathfinder for Savage Worlds, Curse of the Crimson Throne, and Advanced Player's Guide Kickstarter, which has been amazing. So thank you guys for that. But we'll celebrate an hour there, and secrets will be revealed on what's coming up for Pinnacle. And then 2 hours from now, we are going to do the Savage Worlds Summer Showcase. You'll also be stuck with me because our lovely hosts are in the process of moving today. But we do have some awesome guests. It's Carl Kiesler and Chris Warner from Doghouse Rules. They've got an upcoming Kickstarter for Dust Bunnies, and the other guys who do Trailer Park Shark Attack and Fort Griffin and all the great stuff there. And then the guys from Sounds Like Crows have a new show, Terminus, that they're going to tell us about. So I'm going to get out of here because we don't have a lot of time and there's a lot to talk about with Duet Gaming. So I'm going to turn it over to the lovely and talented Jodi Black. So stay on this channel, guys, all night, and we got lots of great entertainment for you. So cheers.
Thanks, Landauer. And I got to say, you have to stick around for Terminus. And of course, we want to party like about the Curse of the Crimson Throne. But man, when they pitched Terminus to me, I was like, tell me more. Yeah. So you're going to want to stick around for all of this if you can. If not, you can always catch it later on the video on demand and whatever channel you're watching this on now. So let's get started, shall we? Duet Gaming. I can't wait. We've been talking about this online, in the chats, wherever you find us online. I'm usually on Facebook, but there's other places. Several of the people here are on Twitter. Wherever we talk, on the forums. And we talk about this Duet Gaming because it's been so much fun and it's really helped us all a lot. And I want to go around and introduce everybody. So I'm just going to say your names, and then I want you to give like a brief intro about yourselves. So I'm going to start with Jen Sutcliffe, who I have gotten to know these past, couple of years. And I love you, Jen. Take it away.
I love you too, Jodi. My name is Jen Sutcliffe. I have been playing Savage Worlds, I don't know, maybe about 5-ish years. And along with Christian, I'm published through our company, The Immaterial Plane. So we make swag and Ace products with, kind of focusing a lot on fantasy elements. So of course, we're really excited about the Fantasy Companion. That has been a topic of much discussion in our household. And I'm thrilled to be here. So can't wait to hear what everyone has to say.
Thank you for joining us. And sorry about that. If people lose their internet connection, we're going to pop out, pop back in, and then Landauer puts us back into our bingo squares. So next, I want to introduce Robin English Bircher, who is, oh my gosh, she's just amazing. She's been with us for a while now in the Savage Worlds verse, and she's been published through many different channels, her own licensing, as well as worked with us on the Rifts line for Rifts for Savage Worlds. And of course, every time we came down to San Antonio, we would party with you, and then at Austin. So we've go back like at least 6 years in hanging out and drinking good wine.
Yeah.
So take it away, Robin.
So hold on. Mute. Sorry, we don't want that horrible the echo. So I'm Robin English Bircher, and like Jason, I've been playing Savage Worlds for about 10 years now ish. Been playing RPGs for 30 plus. And like I said, yeah, I've done a lot of publishing with Sean down beneath me. we've done a lot of stuff together. He's done a lot more on his own, but I've done the big thing I did on my own is I was actually part of Wise Guys, which was kind of cool. But yeah, we've done several things for Pinnacle, like Rifts, Dawn of the Night Kaiju, Expedition Amazon, and our most recent work is with Freedom Squadron over at Mobius World Publishing.
Very cool. So many projects. And Sean, of course, you are such a big part of all of that. Not only as a life partner, husband, and all of that with Robin, but you do your own stuff too. And when we were at ChupacabraCon, I've heard so many stories and read for myself the aftermath reports of the romance games. What was that? Regency romance or something? Introduce yourself and talk about that just a teensy bit.
Oh, sure. Okay. So, yeah, I'm Shantae Bircher. I started a blog about 10 years ago called Wine and Savages, and that has cascaded into working with Pinnacle and several licensees. My big white whale is cracking a Regency romance game. Preferably for Savage Worlds. We tried something using the what is it? Trophy. Yeah, using Trophy, different system. This past ChupacabraCon, which actually was hilarious. Ed Wetterman was amazing. I mean, he was so into it. It was intimidating, but it was amazing fun as well. And right now, I've got a few things in the works with Sigil Entertainment. And we've got a top secret project that we can't talk about yet because the details are still being worked out.
Ooh, top secret. Drop that tease. Drop that tease all over the place. And Christian, those were not tea leaves I was talking about. Like,
right.
So Christian and I go way back. We've been working together, not just Savage Worlds related, but he's not just a fan; he's a customer too for both sides of the companies that Clint and I work with. So, gosh, we've just been hanging out with you for a few years now. And introduce yourself.
Yeah, so my name is Christian Serrano, obviously, and I stalked Carolina Game Tables for about 4 years, maybe. I'm not sure, but eventually we bought one, which we love. And you should go check it out. I've been in the Savage World since the original Explorers Edition back in, I think, 2008. I think was when that was released. And as soon as I read that, I took my favorite setting, which many of you know is Eberron. No offense to Deadlands or any of those. They're wonderful settings too. And immediately started trying to adapt it. And I've spent 13 years working on it and evolving it. And now with the new Fantasy Companion, I'm really excited about that. Jen and I then published a couple swag products, Herbal Alchemy and Artificer's Codex, which then we became aces after that. And we're working on a setting that we're calling Explora. But that's the only teaser we're going to give for now. So we'll drop more clues over time. And then also did SBN News with Ron Blessing. You might know me from Manifest Zone on Eberron podcast with Keith Baker, and that's I think that's the nuts and bolts of it, really. So
and just continue to have your fingers in lots of pies in the Savage Worlds world, and a genuinely great person and a lot of fun to be with. So certainly not least is my husband of the past 25 years. God, we're old. And we have so much fun together. And what do you say, honey?
I've never been happier before in my life.
See, there's the proof. And everybody knows that you are the Savage Worlds Rules Guru. It is his official title, Rules Guru. But you can tell everybody a little bit about yourself in case this is their first time ever watching.
Wow. Okay. So I just realized with everyone talking how long they've been playing Savage Worlds, that in literally exactly 17 days, it will be 20 years for me.
Wow.
I have from July 31st, 2002, the first copy of the test drive PDF, the original Savage Worlds file that I ever downloaded. because I never throw anything away, not even electronic copies. But yeah, coming up in 17 days, it will be 20 years.
It's funny you mentioned that, because I think that was when we were playtesting Savage Worlds, was when we first tried Duet Gaming, and that goes more into, maybe we won't discuss it in this particular stream because it's more of one of those stumbles, pitfalls. We had a learning moment there, but that was 20 years ago. We've learned a lot, and anyways, we've had we're here to share tips and what works.
To be fair, and go back to the point, that Duet game we ran, when I talked about it and posted online about it and what I ran, is when Shane emailed me and said, would you like to come on board? You get it. You totally get what we're doing here. You know, what you posted, that was all it. He contacted me and said, hey, you want to come on board and be play testers? And, you know.
How do you say no to that?
I know. I mean.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Guy pulls up in a van with candy. What are you supposed to do?
Yeah, the fan.
You get in the van.
Yeah, look at all the dice.
All right, so we've talked enough about ourselves. Let's talk about Duet Gaming. So what is it? First of all, let's talk about what it's not. And thank you to whoever in the group actually provided this summary, because it wasn't me. Let's define it as, there's the traditional tabletop role-playing games that you are all probably know of and love, where you get a group of people together. There's one GM and 2 or more players, sometimes up to 10, 15. I know some people who've done that. Our groups have typically been around 5 to 8, no more than that. But it's a lot of people who sit down and play, and the one GM is running all of that. And it's maybe a campaign, maybe just a one-shot. That's more of a traditional RPG scenario. Then there's solo RPGs, like with Deadlands, Crater Lake. So you have no GM, just one player, and you get to play through the scenario. In Crater Lake, you read the passage, you do what it does, you make your character still. You're still rolling the dice and drawing the cards, but everything's intended for just one person to handle everything. And now we have our duet games. So that's where it's one GM, one player. And the one GM is planning out all the story, being all the NPC characters, and everything focuses on that one player all the time. And then there's another option that I want to introduce the concept of, but we're not really going to go into in this stream. Maybe that'll be a stream for later. A dual duet game is what we're going to call it, or maybe just double GMing, or maybe I don't know. Maybe there's a fancy term for it, where you're both GMs and you're both players. We're not going to really get into that much in this stream, but that's been a fascinating new development for Clint and I. And I know Jen and Christian are doing that too, possibly Robin and Sean, mostly because we're all so familiar with the rules. We're all game masters. So it's just something that we've fallen into. That doesn't mean it has to be for you or for everybody, but it's an option. So now let's talk about what settings have we used for duet gaming? And I want Clint to go first and talk about our games, just really briefly, because we got a lot to cover.
Okay, real quick, we started out with Deadlands with the concept of, because we love the movie so much, they're so much fun, the Thin Man couple, Nick and Nora, a very rich couple traveling across the West. And we started with that concept of, you know, and it was a very baseline of the idea of, it always helps when you've got a player to have someone who's there who's best friend or connected to them. And the next one we did, full campaign of that. It went great. I think Jodi enjoyed it. Next one we did, we actually did a Savage Shadowrun game using Manuel's awesome Sprawl Runner supplement and a few other things of my own creation. We ran a game there. Characters in that were not married. They were basically just roommates working together as a Shadowrun team. And then the new one that we're doing now, we've gone back to Deadlands. And this one was our first foray into what Jodi mentioned, the dual duet, both GMing kind of game. So it's been different, but it's also been a whole lot of fun. But
Oh.
as always, we've come back to Deadlands yet again.
We just love Deadlands. Can't get enough of Deadlands. So, all right, Christian, your games.
Yeah, so Jen and I, when we decided that we want, so this all started during the pandemic when it all hit, because we're like, well, we want to play, we got plenty of time, let's do this. And I had the giant box set of Lankmar. I had everything, including Savage Seas. I thought this was perfect because, the traditional, Fritz Leiber stories, there's, you had the Twain, right? So this was like, we could just mimic that same kind of storytelling with our two characters. And we did take the approach of I guess, was it a dueling GMing kind of thing where we would take turns and so on, which, yeah, again, we'll talk about sometime later. But it was great because
dueling sounds like we're at odds. So maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, we are when you're a GM. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, we really we just loved it, and our characters they were intimate with each other. They sort of discovered each other in Lankmar, and sort of partnered up both as thieves and lovers, and yeah, and it's great. We had to put it on pause because we just recently moved, but we're planning to pick it back up again. And we've also talked about doing like a supers game, which I think could be really good when you have like that solo superhero story, and you can really focus on that character's arc. And then we thought about doing something Viking themed, whether it's Hellfrost or something homebrewed. Jen's been watching a lot of Vikings lately, and so a lot of inspiration there.
I've been watching a lot of the different Vikings shows on Netflix and binging them, and yes, I've had an idea of what our next campaign is going to be.
Yeah, I love The Last Kingdom. That's my favorite.
And the book series are so good. Anyways, so all right, so Robin, give us just a brief background of what campaigns you guys have played in and run.
So we have used Rippers and Flash Gordon, and Rippers has turned into it started with Rippers and then it became something different over time, where it started having super spies and and super thieves and superheroes and all weird stuff. But mainly we kind of homebrew. It's a way for us to try out new ideas, new setting topics, and so we kind of make things up every so often. We kind of change things up. Like right now, I'm a fae romance novel traveling through England.
That's cool.
So very different. But yeah, we just kind of we figure out what both of us what media thing is getting us most interested right now and getting us most inspired, and kind of create a homebrew together.
Do you guys use that as like a test bed for design as well?
Yes, we have used it for a few things. In fact, the not quite completed ever setting of King is Dead did start as a duet game.
I think that's fantastic. And yes, we are play testing things all the time. It'll be when Clint has his weekly rules meetings with the gang, it's like, well, when we last did this, it comes up all the time. Okay, so I want to move on now that we've established our backgrounds and what settings we know this has worked with, because I think some people will think about it and they'll be like, well, I don't know if it'll work in that setting or this setting. I'm just going to go ahead and say, I think it'll work in any setting. I can't think of a setting where it won't work. And I'm seeing a lot of nods here. Maybe there's a setting out there where it wouldn't work for, but anyways, I think it'll work for all of them. We're going to get into the nitty gritty later. We're going to talk about setting rules. We're going to talk about how we're adapting setting rules, come up with a new setting rule. We're going to talk about how this is different from traditional gameplay and how we're adapting things. But next I want to go into like why we love the duet games. What's different about this that makes it so appealing to us? And I'm going to ask Jen to start us off by talking about just the convenience factor, because we live together.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously, like one of the just like ongoing struggles of being a tabletop gamer is being able to get everyone together, working around people's schedules. And I mean, people just have stuff going on in their lives. So with the duet game, obviously, if you're a couple and you live together, you can easily get together. You can just pick up the game whenever you're in the mood to game. You don't have to, work around so many schedules. And also, like you do some prep for the session if you're the one GMing, but the stakes are kind of lower. It's not, you're just really just doing it for enjoyment of the other's company, maybe some storytelling, play testing, but you're just there to game, and there's not as much to manage. So I personally feel like I don't have to do nearly as much prep for these duet sessions. So we often will both wing it to a certain degree, which has been really good way to get better at role playing, improving, and just as a GM generally exercising flexibility, working around the rules and working with the rules as well. And so being comfortable with each other, it's a very safe space for that kind of thing.
Yeah, and I think to kind of play off of what Jen was just saying, because we don't have to do as much prep and we can kind of just wing it with each other. It gives us more flexibility to kind of explore more dramatic interactions. We're not in a rush to get through the story. If a certain story takes 8 sessions, fine. And that it's the experience of us playing together that is really drawing us and into it. So I will say the only thing that we have to worry about schedule wise is sleep schedule, because it's really easy to just kind of get into it, and next thing you know, it's 2 a.m. and you're like, oh my god. So but other than that, though, it's great because, like Jen said, you can just pick it up and go, and you can prep as much as you need to. You can just kind of go into a whole role-playing session for 4 hours if you want to, and you're not taking time away from other players as well, because as a GM you try to be respectful of other people's time, but since it's just 2 of us, much more convenient.
Right. And if there is a situation where you're like, okay, well, this is an interesting point. I want to really role play that out instead of hand wave it. It's like, okay, this was planned to be this. Now it's this. And then alternately, like Jen is like, okay, we know what's going to happen here. Let's just do a roll. Okay, that was now just became this,
right.
Because there's dishes that need to be done or something,
That's right.
Okay. Sean, I know you talked about playtesting some of the rules. So what were some of the other things that you found that were convenient to do here? Actually, how long have you been doing this?
So it actually started back when Robin was in grad school. So about 2002, 2003, 2001. Okay, 2001. And I commuted to Austin every day. We were living in San Marcos, which is like halfway between Austin and San Antonio, Texas. And we didn't really know anybody. And it was really hard to meet anybody. So, we started gaming together, starting with like the Old World of Darkness, and then moving into the Unisystem. And then when we finally discovered Savage Worlds via Pirates of the Spanish Main, we were all on board with that, and we've stuck with Savage Worlds since.
That's fantastic. And when you mentioned the long drive, it put me in mind, Clint, of where we do a lot of our gaming. And I mean, because we're on the road, right? Okay, you can stop looking at me like that. Just answer the question. Where is another place that it is convenient for us to do our duet gaming?
I don't know. Oh, on the road, dear. On the road, because we travel so much with Pinnacle somewhat, but also mostly Carolina Game Tables, because we are in a van loaded with tables, driving halfway across the country and back. And it makes for a great opportunity for that. I mean, it's big chunk of the time it's just the 2 of us, but even when we did Origins and our daughters were able to go with us, they always sit in the back seats with their earbuds in. I mean, when we have to yell to ask them if we need to stop. It's like they aren't concerned about mom and dad gaming up front and what's going on.
What you need to do is get them to drive and you guys play on a table in the back. That's what you need to do.
That is you, but not playing on a table because they're pancaked. Okay, so, but yeah, usually we like to have the girls drive their own car just so that we can talk about things in our game that we wouldn't normally talk about around the kids. Because, as you mentioned, that your characters were partners as well as you being partners in life. So, things can be a little bit like. Okay, so I've been accused. I will put it this way. I have been accused of our duet gaming sessions as being nothing more than foreplay. It's not that. Okay, guys? It's not. I'm just going to put that out there. But I will say it's a lot of fun, and it certainly doesn't hurt. But let's leave the intimacy question for a little bit longer later. Anyways, I'm just going to start blushing. What I want to go into, though, is talking about how you get started. Like when you're planning out your game, what is some of the first steps that we want to take? And Clint, you had a brilliant suggestion when we were brainstorming as a group.
Yeah. One of the things is, and it may seem counterintuitive to some points, but a session 0, an introductory time of character creation and building on that, is almost more important when you're doing a duet game, because that character is solely going to be the one to have the spotlight. There's no switching to another character and having time to work on other things or anything else, or have to focus on that. So it means that you've got to have kind of a more in-depth knowledge of that character, and how the player feels about that character to be able to, work around it. And also, there are aspects of what in this game, I think in every case here, each player and GM in our groups know each other about as well as you can know anybody. But there are certain times when there are things that pop up, or you may not even realize because it's not something that comes up in real life every day, that you need to have a line drawn, and lines and veils and all the other protective things, whatever works for you. There's so much out there, whatever it might be. For us, it was simple in some cases of just, and it can change. In our Deadlands game, there's an orphanage. And it just came up that, for me personally, I can't have kids endangered. Not that there can't be dangers that would kind of threaten the kids, but I mean direct threats to children regarding their lives and their safety and things like that. And it's another nice thing about duet gaming is, as you play along, there's more communication between the GM and the player. So when those things do happen, you can adjust. But that session 0, it's important to know things. I mean, Jodi throwing out that her mother, died on the crossing to, from Japan to the United States when her family came over, meant that, long down the road, mom can show up.
Harrowed. No, wait, not Harrowed.
Not Harrowed.
But it is Deadlands.
It is Deadlands.
I think people would be thinking that.
Yeah. And, by that time, that's something she wrote a long time ago. But because I knew it from back then, I had a way that I was able to weave it into the storyline and build it in such a way that, especially as a GM, it's nice to be able to throw in things that are foreshadowing what's coming. And when you've only got one player, sometimes that's a lot easier to do. And it's also nice to get that look at your player of, she's who? You know?
That was a bit of a twist. Daniel, you're right. It is absolutely a great way to introduce her to the hobby.
Duet.
Duet. One of us. But you know, but you'll need to go small, like like we're talking about, where it's not always going to be a 4 to 6 hour session. Maybe it's going to be just 1 hour and you make a character, and then the next couple of days later it's going to be, you know, maybe another hour where you're talking about, just tell me a little bit about what you see for yourself as a backstory, and then, you know, go slow, baby steps.
Yeah.
So speaking of the baby steps there, Christian, when you're talking to Jen, sorry, I saw a Jess friend of mine today. So when you're talking to Jen about, you know, things that is happening in game, and it's like, is this okay or not okay? You know, when you have something that you can discuss, it's so much easier, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there have been a couple times where there were moments where we're like, do we want to go in that direction, or do we just want to like kind of fade to black and move on? You know, but also, you know, we know each other well enough. We know our real life backstories, if you will, well enough to know, you know, what topics are okay, what topics do we want to avoid, you know, things like that. And you know, and I think that's the other benefit of the duet gaming is, like, you know, the other person really, really well. So you know what, not only, you know, what might upset them or whatever, but also what excites them, what things are they interested in, and what kind of experiences do they want to have in the game. So it makes that tailoring a little bit easier as well. But yeah, I don't think anything major has ever come up that's caught either one of us off guard, where we're like, whoa, you know, because like I said, we're pretty familiar with each other. So.
Yeah, we tend to keep it pretty lighthearted anyways, so a lot of
Yeah.
more serious topics don't come up. But of course, if they did, we would still have that conversation, even because that's just what you do at the table. Whether, you know, however well you know the other person or not, you can intuit a lot of things perhaps, but still just being like, okay, we good, not good, you know, just temperature check is always good regardless.
And we use the retcons. It's like, we know I've been thinking about it. I wouldn't have done it that way. Let's dial that back. Let's redo the scene. You know, it's so much easier to do that if it's just the two of you. Whereas if it's a whole table full of people, you're like, I'm wasting their time. I can't do that. Just going to keep it and move forward or something like that. So, yeah, I like being able
I
to do
love all the nodding heads to the word retcon. I really do. I think we this is not something we discussed before, but I think, yes, it is. I was just thinking it myself.
Yeah,
It is so much easier to say.
Section.
Yeah, it's so much easier to say when it's just the two of you. Hey, I don't think this would have gone that way with a character. And it's like, okay. And if that would have changed anything, you're right there with the GM. You can work it out. Yeah.
Sean, what was that again?
Oh, I was just saying we were planning to talk about tools and setting rules and things like that later on, but retcons are definitely a thing that we all should have thought to add in there, because it is so necessary to be able to take back oversteps, mistakes, just wrong moments that don't really feel right for the characters. So yeah, it is so vital.
It just makes for a better story. You know, that's what the goal is a better story, not I've won or you've won or, you know, anything like that. So
it's like being able to just press the delete button, like as if you were writing. And yeah, the more people that are involved, the, you know, harder it is to take a step back and be like, oh, just like reverse everything all y'all did, and we're gonna go back to this point in the story. But it does, like, you know, we end up improving so much of everything, you know, even though we work from book of the Savage Tales, Longmore City of Thieves Savage Tales, you know, we still improv so much. And, you know, sometimes you're like, oh, wait, major plot hole there. Or no, I actually don't think it would go like that. It's absolutely true.
So since all of us have our own stories that we've created as real people, not the fantasy characters, but as real people, we have built these stories for each other, as partners, as lovers, ours, like for Clint and I, we've raised children, that we've bought houses and moved, right? Jen and Christian, there's all these ups and downs, writing books together. There's things that we do and we go through on a daily basis. So let's talk about the intimacy thing a little bit. So how important is it to you that you get to have this opportunity to connect with your partner in that way? Robin, I want you to go first.
Sorry, couldn't find my mute button. Yeah, for us, yes, there is. Let's be honest. Since we've been married, we were already married over a year by the time we started Duet Gaming. So yeah, there is. For us, we've decided that sometimes it's that, and sometimes it's not the kind of that more intimate sort of thing. But the intimacy, a lot of times, is mainly about emotional intimacy. Being able to be more emotional, had that more cathartic experience in a duet game that you may not feel comfortable doing at a group game. That moment when your character's just going to break down and cry, and you just do it because it feels right for you at that moment, and it feels good to cry. That's been something that has been extremely useful for me on an emotional level. Sometimes I need something to release that, and that's kind of an intimacy I think that duet gaming can allow, because you're not going to waste other people's time while you're having that moment. So it kind of works that way, and basically any kind of storytelling creates a bond. And so we have these wonderful stories of duet games that we get to always kind of laugh about on the side and talk about, and it's kind of been kind of fun able to do that.
Laughing about it is definitely a big part of it, because there are so many scenes where it's like, okay, now what would be really funny in this moment? Because we're talking about comedic beats just as much as we are romantic ones. But then there's also what's romantic for my character might not be what's romantic for Jodi, but for the character, that's a really romantic, gesture from the NPC, so let's dive into that. That she'd think that was really cool. I think it's hilarious, or something like that. I think there's ways to go in on that. And then I'm just checking my notes here. So Jen, you had something to talk about how this helped you grow as a GM too.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I have many more years of playing D&D and DMing than I do playing Savage Worlds and GMing Savage Worlds. And so our duet games were definitely an opportunity for me to kind of learn those rules better from a GM perspective, and get really good at just like not only being able to just know them off the top of my head, but being able to, like I mentioned before, be flexible with the rules. Like, sometimes we're kind of like testing the waters of what like the other person who's GMing and you're the player, what they'll allow you to do with their character. For example, my character is Alana, Christian's is Ezrin, and my character has a pet hawk, which is not a familiar, just a pet. But I'll kind of try and see like what he'll allow my hawk to do for me, even though we don't have that same connection as a familiar. Like maybe like I trained it to do this or something. I trained it to like go and distract them and pull on that guard's like tunic and unravel it or something like that. So it's definitely both as a player and GM opened up a lot of creative doors, and I also think just in general, like I mentioned, being able to, if you're at a table with a lot of players and you're GMing, they might want to, especially during character creation, they might say like, oh, can I do this with my character? And that's where homebrewing comes in sometimes, or just flexing the rules a little bit. And it's helped me get a lot better at that as well.
I think that's so important. And then, you just get to, I mean, it does help me learn the rules too, because as much as we're involved in it every day, Clint's the one who really knows them backwards and forwards. Like sometimes he'll even know the page number. It's scary. I'm telling you, it's scary. It's kind of weird. But, for me, I'll be like, wait, which way did we end up going with that? Did we change that rule? Or, oh, no, wait, we've now changed that rule. How did it used to go? Let me look this up, so that when I'm doing like a con game or something, I've got it right, so that or closer to right, is not quite so much, so quite so many errors or falling down on my face, because yeah, there's really not that many rules to remember, people. It's just Jodi can get confused.
Y'all need to stop putting out errata. That's the problem. No, I'm kidding. Just kidding.
We keep streamlining for you.
Updates, Christian. Updates. Okay.
Updates.
Right.
So before we leave off on the intimacy thing, I do want to emphasize something that Jen had put into our notes here about other people you can game with as a duet gamer, which I think is very important.
Yeah. So, I've only played duet games with Christian. And I think that, if it doesn't, you could do this with someone who's not your partner as well, because if you think of a traditional game session like a dinner party, a duet game is kind of like, if it's your partner going on a date, or if it's a friend, you're meeting for coffee and catching up. Like, I think it's really an amazing opportunity for collaborative storytelling, building creativity, learning rules and settings, and really just having a good time. So if you like gaming, I think this would be fun to do with one of my girlfriends, or a parent might want to do a duet game with their child, especially if they're trying to introduce them to Savage World. So it's certainly not limited to couples, and I want to normalize that this is absolutely something that you could do with any one person who you want to try it out with.
Anybody that you want to develop that relationship with, become closer to, like a best
Absolutely.
friend. Yeah, a child. What were you going to say, Clint?
I just wanted to add one of the advantages, and I don't know if we had it in our notes or not, because Daniel made the comment about introducing your children to the hobby, or introducing a girlfriend, or someone said introducing a significant other, is with a duet game, it is so much easier to choose a setting that's going to interest them. Because like we've said, you can pretty much do any setting with this. So it is a case of, that's a great way to get introduced into any system or any hobby, especially RPGs, is if this person would love ETU, that's what you choose, or something like that, or whatever it might be that interests them. That's a great thing about doing this, whether it's your child or whatever. You find a setting that's going to interest them, that they think that's cool, and you don't have to worry about going to another player and saying, okay, well, we want to play this, and getting, So.
Or do you have Friday night available, or how about Saturday? Will Sunday afternoon work for you? It's that whole scheduling mayhem too. Okay, so we're running out of time, y'all, and I knew that this was going to happen, because we're like, okay, 1 hour for all of this. Okay, so like I said, this might not be our only stream on this topic, but I do want to get to some of the crunch, right? We need to talk about what setting rules help us with the duet gaming. Sean, which setting rules do you guys frequently employ in your games?
Okay, so the default is always heroes never die, because it's about this one character, so you don't want them just suddenly getting killed off in the middle of things. And honestly, Robin has had some bad experiences with GMs in the past, so sometimes she still gets really nervous about her character possibly dying, even though she knows that's not going to happen. So you don't lose the tension, even if heroes never die. Then things like Born a Hero to give people a leg up. We've experimented with no PowerPoint, so you don't have to do as much tracking of things. Dumb luck is a great rule because, especially if it's just the one player, uh, critical failures being irreversible is just problematic.
Blasphemer.
We see you, Jodi. We see you.
I know.
Multiple
I can
languages is
recognize that
good.
not everybody is as much a fan of crit fails as I am. I'll just leave it at that.
I have become more interested in them as a concept because I think it can lead to more interesting things, but we haven't really brought that so much into our games. Multiple languages is also good. Honestly, we usually start off at a higher rank. We start off at seasoned at a minimum. A lot of times we're jumping into characters that are heroic or legendary just from the beginning, and that's because we're doing like 60s, 70s James Bond style stuff, and fitting that in is just part of what works for us. Sometimes free edges, like with a solo character, you're almost always going to want them to be able to draw more than one action card. So making them quick at least is useful. Maybe throw in an extra combat edge or something of that sort.
Anything you can make, because I mean, you're the one character that's playing, the player has to cover all the roles. So you might have normally at the table an investigator, a fighter, like you've got a cleric, just to call on some other classes or something like that. Well, the one character has to cover everything, or you give them a GNPC to kind of help back them up. So so it's important to have a pretty, you want to have a focused character if fighting's your thing or healing is your thing. That's you're leaning into. But but you also still need to be able to handle yourself in all those other situations too. So extra edges, that seems to be a really good idea. Were there any other like adapted settings or anything like that, new things that you do?
Well, because I improvise almost everything, I have found that I have used like the plans and operations from Freedom Squadron, and my personal variant on it, the Scheme Pyramid, which is a swag product, as kind of an oracle to guide us through the scenes, to create challenges and structure things in a way so that it's just not all constantly coming out of my brain.
Yeah. Oh yes, Savage My Little Pony is totally perfect. She's gonna love that.
Take a look at some swag products. There's one called A Ponine, written by me. Yeah, which is exactly that. So.
Yay! How cool. Yes. Okay, moving across the board here because we're running out of time. Sorry. Christian and Jen, what about setting rules for you guys and new adapted ones?
Yeah, Born a Hero as well. Heroes Never Die, same reasons. Conviction, because I feel like story-wise, it's really good for, when you have that lone hero who's like, this means everything to them. This moment means everything. It's really good for that. We accidentally adopted Common Bond for all of our characters because so when one person's GMing, the other person gets to control both characters, and we kept forgetting whose bennies were whose. So we're just like, all right, forget it. We'll just
forgetting.
Right. Yeah. Forgetting. Right. So we're just like, yeah. You can just use them. So it works really well for that. And then of course Unarmored Hero, because Longmar, we really like that one a lot. So yeah.
Oh, Calamity, that sounds like a great game. 30 years. Wow. Okay. And now Clint, you have made a new setting rule for us, which I love. But go ahead and run through the core setting rules that we use for most of our games, and then give the people the lowdown on your new setting rule.
Yeah, we have a few. We use Conviction too. We do not use Born a Hero, but we do tend to, like Sean, we start at seasoned generally for advancements for the characters. We're in Deadlands mostly, so dynamic backlash is a thing. Like everyone else, multiple languages. I think that'll lead into something else, later on. And then heroes never die.
Not in our game.
But we do use wound cap, which has meant heroes have not died. I mean, Jodi doesn't know it, but we do have a setting rule that if she is incapacitated and she dies, her character actually won't die, but a random NPC that she cares greatly about will in her stead. She just doesn't know about that yet.
No. I'm not doing that for you, by the way. You die, you're dead.
I'm sure.
It's Deadlands. You can come back harrowed. So,
Yeah. Something else that we've done recently that might be kind of considered a setting role is we've brought in, because we kind of have access to some of this stuff as well, a lot of the epic and other modifiers that have been made for powers, for things like that. We have had some adaptation, so to give an example, our version of Greater Teleport actually requires the character to spend 1d6 rounds traveling through the hunting grounds to get to the other location. It is not instantaneous for those long distances, and it's 1d6 rounds per increment. So if you wanted to travel anywhere on the earth, you're traveling in the hunting ground for at least 3d6 rounds and could run into anything there during that time.
It's like, what's that going by?
Look, tasty meal, yummy. But then the other one that we had that we've instituted is, and most, I guess, all of the games now recently, is a setting role I call kind of versatile. Now, in a game with only one player, it can be vital for those characters to be at least proficient in skills, which would usually be covered by other player characters in a typical game. So in addition to the usual effect you get for an advancement, characters can raise one skill, a die type, that's below its linked attribute. It's kind of like a free skill point. You can't go above the linked attribute, so you can't specialize using this, but it gives the characters a broader access to skills that they might not normally have. And, that's become real important as, Jodi, who's playing Deadlands, realizes after the first session, her character doesn't know how to ride a horse at all.
Kind of important for Deadlands.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we've got a time limit. So I'm gonna move on.
Yeah.
So now there is a difference here between duet gaming and the dual GMs or that kind of thing where you're both GMs and players. When we can get around to doing that, probably in another stream, we can go further into how you are both simultaneously a GM and a player. But just to give it a quick overview, you're not both at the same time. Like when I'm running for Clint, I am the GM at that point, and I basically hand the baton to Clint and be like, okay, next game session, you're the GM and I'm the player. Our characters are still in the story at both times. And if I've got a question or he's got a question for me about my character while I'm GMing, of course, I know what my character is going to do. Or, I'm just running the game for him. But if he's running the game for me, vice versa, he knows what his character is going to be doing and he's setting up these plots. And we both, just to give it a brief summary here, we both have had plot point campaigns that were running for each other's character. And the way we kept them from crossing over is Clint kept his in the real world. So it was more real world threat, and mine is in the spiritual realm. So there's been lots of crossover. And he ran me through the major end game battle this past weekend, and it was awesome. And there were 3 crit fails. Anyways, last thing, I just want to call out for questions because I don't think we have time to go into how this is different from traditional gameplay. But I will say that in our notes, we said we lean heavily on theater of the mind. Clint and I break out the maps for combats for very intense situations. We've done mass battles. We do social conflicts. We do quick encounters, lots of quick encounters, lots of dramatic tasks, anything that will kind of keep it more on the story than on the, when the game mechanic can go a little bit awry. And then also, when you're keeping all of those NPCs in your head, streamline your extras is a note that I'll have. Just give that one's the baker. They've got one skill that is baking, and they've got a linked attribute that is, smarts, and get the skill and the linked attribute as a D8. The rest of it is a D6. You're done. You don't have to worry about writing that down. You just can remember that, about the baker. So any questions from our panel? And hopefully Landauer will pop them up on screen if anybody has questions from the gallery. But while we're waiting on that, I just want to say thank you all for joining us. Obviously, there's way more here than we could say in 1 hour, and I knew it. So we had to kind of go fast. It's Savage Worlds. It's fast, furious, and fun. And hopefully this has been that for the people who've been watching. Hyper dice. I don't know if I want to do that many crit fails. Thanks, John. You got my back. Okay. Do you find that you lean more towards playing characters that have a lot in common with yourselves, or more towards characters that let you explore being in someone else's shoes? I'd love to hear the answers from everybody. Robin.
So for me, it all depends on how I'm feeling. I think all of my characters have at least a little bit connected to me, especially in a duet game. But I like playing with characters I wouldn't normally be, and exploring things that I wish I could be. Like I know at least in one game it didn't go very far. It was problematic, but I was a rock star. Yeah, I always wanted to do that. Nope, can't do it in real life. So yeah, it's. I think it's a good time to do a little bit of both.
I love that. Yeah, Sean, how about you?
I am almost always the GM. So I've got this series of stock NPC personalities and character voices that have become part of who I am over the years. So there's always something in there that is a part of me also. But I like, a lot of Robin's characters' ultimate romantic interests happen to be these globe-trotting, charismatic, very funny cat burglars for some reason. And I don't know why that's me specifically. Yes, I do entirely know why that is. But yeah, that does come up a lot.
So I have a question, Chuck. Why do they steal cats?
So basically, the entire crew of Ocean's 11 is on the table, right?
Honestly, actually, it's Lupin the Third and his crew.
I mean, I can see the appeal in that. Yeah. How about you, Jen?
I'd have to agree. It's a little bit of both, but I'm definitely, of course, as you role play, your character evolves. And I think I naturally just start because, not literally anything, but for the most part, anything goes in our games. And so I think I definitely go a lot more outside myself, the typical characters that I might play when we're doing a duet game. Although if anyone who played with me at Mace West this year probably can see that that's coming out in my group games as well. More. But Alana is actually very similar to my first ever D&D character, interestingly. I think, we a lot of people at least who I've talked to, you have an attachment to that first character. And so she's definitely an evolution of that character. And so there's definitely part of me in her, but she's also her own thing.
Okay. What are your thoughts on using duets to introduce your children to the hobby? Little girl, yes. Okay. So, Christian, you have a little girl at home. In fact, you probably have the youngest girl at home of any of the people here.
Not so little anymore.
Youngest kids at home.
Yeah.
Our kids are no longer even in the teens category, unfortunately, because, like I said, we're old.
Yeah.
So Take that one away.
Sure. Yeah. So I actually way back, my daughter's like 14 now, but way back when, I actually used Hero Kids to get my kids in role playing, and I ran a game for both my son and my daughter. Funnily enough, my son would get so invested that he would actually get upset if the monster was attacking his character, and he would pull the pawn off the table and like hold it, like no. I was like, it's okay, it's gonna be okay, you know. And they enjoyed it. They unfortunately they kind of outgrew it a little bit, but every now and then we'll convince them to play, and they get really into it. And I'm like, come on, guys, like we could do this. They do really enjoy tabletop games in general, like board games and card games. So hence the Carolina game table that we own. So we use that a lot. But yeah, absolutely, duet gaming or trio gaming, whatever, works really well for that.
And I would add that like a way to kind of like get them more invested is allow them to incorporate aspects of things that they like, their personality, or even characters in other in like TV shows or comics or whatever that they like, because that's familiar to them, and that'll be a good way to segue into learning about other settings, even if those things don't necessarily match the setting you're trying to introduce them to. We've found that when we just let them do what they want to do, that they get a lot more invested.
It is so much fun.
Yeah. I want to say real quick, just to back up Jen, our youngest daughter, when she was like 10 or 11, would sit on panels about kids and gaming. And this very mature voice was, she would always say, you have to find the game that speaks to that child. And I'm like, you're 10. How do you say these words? But she did, because her sister liked one game, and she ended up really liking the Warrior Cats novel series, and ended up finding out that they did an adventure game. In the back of it, you could download it for free. That was her game. Once she found that was her game, because she loved that series. And it was just real quick, it was written by Stan, ! Of the Game Mechanics. I had her copy printed out, took it to Gen Con, and got him to sign it for her. And he drew cats inside it for her. And awesome guy, and really made her day when I brought it back. So yeah, find the game and a setting that the kids love to get them into it.
I think that's all we have time for. Again, thank you so much for joining us. Landauer is probably going to hop back in here in just a minute. As the scroll is saying there on the bottom, we're going to take a minute to go probably off stream, or maybe I'll just hang out here. I don't know. We'll just roll with it. But we're going to bring on some of our people for the final hour of the Pathfinder Curse of the Crimson Throne Kickstarter, which has gone amazing. Thank you all for supporting that, whether you pledged it or just shared the link to people who you think would be interested in that. Thank you. And I don't think we're done yet. What do you guys think? I think we're doing this again sometime. It's kind of like a duet game. We just are never really going to be done with this, are we?
Well, never.
No, an hour did not do you guys justice. This was very entertaining, and we didn't even get through like half of the stuff you wanted to talk about. So we will definitely do another duet gaming stream, guys. And thank you for everybody who showed up. And then we're going to go dark here for just a minute to give all the old folks a potty break. And we'll be back in a minute, guys. So thank you, everybody who showed up for this stream. It was fantastic. And just stay here. Everyone who's watching, you don't have to leave. We'll be back on the same bat time, same bat channel in a few minutes.
Bye, guys. These folks are all awesome.
Thanks everybody.
For showing up.
Thanks for watching.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Bye.
Boom. Okay. So boom. Let's see. Add to stream.
I'm in the show.
Awesome.
Everyone
I know
can
we're
see and
here.
hear you.
They can hear us now, but we're not here. They can't see us. It's so awesome. Oh my god.
I was about to message Mike and be like, "You want to bicker like an old married couple on stream to vamp for a little bit?"
I mean, we totally could. The
We're anti-duets.
Well, I mean, the people can hear us, right?
We all just
right.
fight.
Oh yes, Sarah,
Hey.
I can hear you. Yes.
Hey, you kids, get off my stream.
Oh, my goodness, what are you guys
Get off my
doing?
stream.
Watch your language, everybody.
Yeah.
Before we have all the couple, like the loving couples for their duets, and then we have these couples. We're like the anti-duets. We're just like, no, here's how I lose my
Hi,
Thank you, John,
We
for
know
letting
the
us know.
mic is
Mike
hot.
and
Thank you.
Don. I hate you guys.
I hate you all.
Awesome. So let's just take down the screen and see where everybody ended up. It's really fun with StreamYard because I can't see when you can't see. So, oh, okay, we are here. Awesome. That worked out. Well, welcome, folks, to the final hour of the Pathfinder for Savage Worlds Curse of the Crimson Throne and Advanced Player's Guide Kickstarter.
You got to change out our title.
Oh, yeah, we got to change it. Okay, the looks.
But that
Of
whole thing
course.
of, StreamYard doesn't let you see what you're going to do here.
Watch,
so
watch the magic. So I think this is, we want...
That's
poof.
right. So,
Whoa!
oh,
We
that
are
was
no
cool.
longer Duet Gaming. So, yes, thank you for joining us on this amazing Kickstarter journey. It has been a tiresome 3 weeks because we had a little vacation in the middle, and we still had to yell at you guys loudly during the 4th of July, but we appreciate the amazing amount of support you guys have thrown at us. And let's turn off that little banner because it's a little obnoxious, because we are here, we are live. And so welcome everybody. The blocks are still with us. Clint and Jodi. They are just finished up the Duet Gaming stream. If you guys did not tune in for the Duet Gaming, I would highly recommend catching it on our video on demand on Twitch or our YouTube. You can click on live streams on the YouTube. YouTube tries to hide the live stuff, but if you go to YouTube and click live streams on the PEG channel, you can find it. It was fantastic. And then we are also joined by Mr. Michael Barbaro. Welcome.
Hey.
I should have a little if I were cooler like our other hosts, I'd have a little the applause and the crowd and the cheering. And but I am not that
Harlan
cool.
and Joe, not Jodi. 'cause-
Right? Send good thoughts to Harlan and Joe. They are currently packing and unpacking boxes for a big move. So send them love because I think we've all gotten to the age where you can't just be like, "Hey, I'm going to buy beer and pizza and help me move and get your friends to show up." We are beyond that.
Wait,
So-
there's a beyond that? Because I've literally been moving friends for the last 20 years still for beer and pizza. So
See, mine charged. Mine send me invoices. The last time I moved, I got a hospital bill and an invoice, and yeah. So maybe we just have different friends. That might be.
I'm doing it wrong. is what you're
I
saying.
think you're doing it right if you're not paying for it. Pizza,
no.
beer.
I'm always helping people. Yeah,
Oh.
I'm a sucker. Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, we don't do that anymore, sir. We don't do that anymore. The
Hey, Daryl, we can you help us move next weekend?
I
We
mean,
got some stuff we need to just drive all the way here.
oh, glorious. And then we also have Mr. Donald Shepard. Welcome, sir.
Hello, folks. I am back, despite protests say otherwise. You can't get rid of me.
Again this stream?
It's
Yeah, well, maybe. Smudge is right now calm, so
So we decided that you're viral instead of bacterial because we can't get rid of you with antibiotics. You wait to come back and strike. Yeah. And last but certainly not least, Mr. Daryl Hayhurst. Welcome to the show, sucker, sir, who helps other people move for beer and
right.
pizza.
And apparently comes to these webcasts just because they're like, hey, want to come? Yeah, sure. Pizza and beer, I'm in.
Actually, we have plans. That's why you're here.
True.
Right? There are secrets.
Reasons. Spoilers coming. Okay.
And they might be right behind me on the virtual backdrop.
I don't want this to be a thing.
No hints at all. No hints
hints.
at all. So let's go check out as long as it's for the last hour. Let's hope we timed this right. So we had to put in the hour and the minute and the second 3 weeks ago. Is that long? So let's go see if the Kickstarter, it might already be done. Who knows?
It is. You're 51 minutes to go.
Oh, we got it.
785.
I think we
Awesome.
did it right. We got our math right this time.
Yeah, it's right over here on my other monitor. It's what I keep looking at.
Same
Like I
days.
said, I don't sleep. I F5, so now that I'm here, I still just F5.
But it's dangerous. I have to share screens, and after the Duet stream, which got a little steamy, I gotta make sure I'm sharing the right one.
All right, now I'm gonna go watch the stream. All right, you got it.
There we go. So let's see. We are at we might break 170,000 during the stream if things are lucky, but we are so close. That is fantastic. 1,558 backers. That's a number that we're proud of, guys. That's really what we look at. We are excited that you're excited about this Kickstarter. There are less than an hour to go, 50 minutes. Maybe remind me, we didn't do it last time. I have to have it up on screen when it clicks off because they do confetti now.
Yes, confetti shoots.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
They've always done that, actually. But
Oh, they have? Okay, I was
Yeah.
I was thinking, like, of all the features Kickstarter could implement, confetti wasn't really high on the list. But if they've always done it, then thank you, original Kickstarter dev team. Please come back and fix some stuff on the site. But
there's a few things we'd like to fix.
a few things.
But it's working out great for us. And thank you, 1,558. Woohoo!
Yeah, that's fantastic. So guys, if you haven't backed yet, this is the second Savage Pathfinder Kickstarter. The first Kickstarter we did is heading out to retail. It is available from our store at picking.com. There's the Ultimate Box Set, which gives you the core rules. You don't need to buy Suede, but I mean, you guys have Suede, right? But all the rules are baked into the box. It comes with an amazing bunch of stuff. In fact, I think I've got, we'll show. Scorch might make a visit, and Scorch has got all the stuff laid out in front of him because now that he's a new playable character race, he splurged on the Ultimate Box Set. But this set is very similar. We've got the Advanced Player's Guide, which is a hardcover, over 120 some pages. It comes with
128.
28. That's a good number. It's a good number. We've got allies and adversary cards. We've got more archetypes, 2 more sets of archetype cards. We know how much you love those in the first one. I was impressed about how thick they were. Those are some nice thick cards. They're very durable for at the table. There's handouts. Also, that's conviction coins. Those are pretty awesome. Donald is working on designing those. They're cooler than the picture we have. We only have a little shiny picture, but they're not going to be plastic. They're going to be actual metal. There's new powers. So you get new power cards. All the good stuff. So the Advanced Player's Guide, it comes with, as Mike has been on stream a bunch of times, a bunch of stuff. So we'll let Mike tell you what is in the Advanced Player's Guide, Mike.
All right. For those of you who have, tuned into the past few streams, first of all, thank you for coming back and listening to us gab a bit about it. But also you're going to hear a little bit of repetitive stuff. So, bear with me here. But we are starting off with the ancestries. We've got 5 new ancestries. It's the Asimar, the Catfolk, the Dampier, the Tiefling, and the Goblins. And then along with those, we have their alternate ancestral traits. So if you want to play a Dwarven Stone Singer cleric, right, you can bust out a different ancestral ability because you're not from the same tribe as everyone else. Or, as we showed yesterday, if you want to be a big-headed goblin that can eat anything, you can play that.
And I think that's a super clever implementation of that I think a lot of other Savage settings could take a look at and be like, oh, that could work in a lot of places.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite things. I want to talk about that, but I'll power through this for the moment. We also have all of the new class edges, the core class edges, as well as their continuing tree. We have new class edges, we have new general edges, we have new power edges, we have leadership edges, we have new powers, as was said, we have new legendary edges, which is my favorite thing. We have a dog barking in the background. We have
someone mute Daryl then.
Which I love the magic items for Pathfinder. There's a lot of great ones. There's cursed items, there's artifacts, there's minor and major. You guys might have seen some of those if you picked up the companion, because we got some of those in there. We've got the rules in the book also for creating intelligent weapons. Those can, go 2 different ways, of course. If the GM just wants to let the players go bananas, the player can make it. Or if the GM wants to make an intelligent weapon to give to the players, that is also a fantastic, fun thing. There may or may not be a movie that did something very brilliant recently involving sentient items. But I won't go down that path because I'm sure that would get me lynched. but I will say this. So what I wanted to say earlier, I've been playing Pathfinder since the first edition beta, right? Like, I don't know if anybody else had ever seen it. They did big floppy books, kind of like they did for their second edition beta. So I've been playing since then, right? I've played probably pretty close to every combination of character and class I can think of. And not only has doing it for Savage Worlds renewed my my joy of it, but just watching my player group sit down, and especially the Bard and Barbarian, for some reason those got like all renewed love from my players. And so I get so excited watching them do it, whether it's, you know, a crazy tiefling sorcerer or an obese halfling monk, because his body is his temple.
You are definitely the right person to take on this job. I mean, you absolutely were, right? Because I've converted like some of my friends that are not into fantasy. I made them play Savage Pathfinder, and they loved it. So, freaking, you're the man. Good job. The best thing is if you praise Mike, like he'll blush and won't be able to talk.
It really is cute. I mean, it's like we don't need a mute button. You just say something nice to him. And Mike is like, Mike's so worried he's not going to like be able to answer. Like there's a question out there that he's not. It's like, Mike, you've been swimming in Savage Pathfinder for 2 years. I think you're good.
Yeah.
Like, you know, good.
No, and I have been baffled by the sport. Everybody has been super great. I love watching everybody talk about their games. There's a gentleman who posts on Facebook. I think he plays a duo game with his son, who's been playing a monk going through Rise of the Rune Lords. And I always get a kick out of watching his posts and seeing how they're doing. And, you know, it's just fantastic seeing all the fun people are having. I love it.
So let me throw a question to Jodi or Clint, because like Jodi's our ops manager, or Donald, either one. The Daniel asked that he wanted to back this, but he wants to know, he doesn't have the funds right now. So will it be available for pre-order, and can he get everything?
I don't think Clint knows this.
No, Clint doesn't know this. No, if we asked about rules question, I meant Jodi or Donald.
Yeah. So almost everything will be available for pre-order later, except the Paizo pawns, and I think they're bases too. Those are add-ons in the Kickstarter. Those are exclusives to the Kickstarter because that is a special arrangement through Paizo. So that will not be available in about 45 minutes. So if you want that, do that now. Go there, up your pledge, do the add-on thing. I think you actually have to manage your pledge. It's anyways. If you have not pledged,
so we did get a little bit of confusion because somebody was trying to do this earlier, so I will outline the process. When you hit Manage Pledge, click the pledge that you want again, and then you'll get to the add-on step. I know it can be a little confusing because it's like, well, I already pledged. I just want to get add-ons. Click the same pledge, and then it'll pop you to the add-ons page. So yeah, and as far as I know, our pawn bases also work with the Paizo, all the Paizo pawns. I don't think we're at I think, you know, it's a plastic base, right? So if you need extras, or if you already have some of ours, right, you should be able to use everything. But there are a lot of pawns in the set, and I think Mike would be able to speak more to how many pawns you might need in a single combat. But I have never found I have too many bases, only not enough.
Only
not
enough.
You know, it's one of the things I love with just how fluid combat can get, especially when you're dealing with a scenario in which people can show up from anywhere, whether you're in town or, you know, in a dungeon. It's the ability to be like, all right, things are going really well. The party, maybe they're feeling a little too cocky and they don't feel the pressure that you want. And then you deal that extra card down, and they think, oh, you put out too many, and then, from behind or through the secret door that they weren't paying attention to comes more people. And I've done that, I've done that a couple times, more than once.
I do
about
too, and
them.
every time I do that, like the very first one will ace on damage and wipe someone out, and then I've got the opposite problem. Like, oh no, pull it back, close the door again.
I actually envy people who do the pawns. I got sucked in as a miniature guy like way back in the day from playing War Machine and stuff. So I've just got cases and cases of miniatures. Sorry, I'm trying not to apparently blush at the nice comment that was given. So yeah,
You're like 3 shades redder than we started
It
this,
is,
Mike.
it's great. Let's keep at it, everyone. Maybe he'll
people
explode.
are horrible.
Hey, Mike, as you blush, you get even more attractive too.
It's true.
Yeah, I gotta go back to that, find that peg of the attractive comment. Where is that? That was so bad.
It's so red right now. Come on, guys, we're supposed to be talking about a Kickstarter here.
No, we're celebrating. the
We are
successful
celebrating, yes.
completion of a Kickstarter.
It's a party.
It's a party, yeah.
So, Mike, but while I'm looking for the attractive comment, there was a good comment, and this is, I don't know if you want to spoil this or you even know yet, but the Lyshotes asks, do you plan on converting all the adventure pass? Okay, there's too many to do all of them, guys. Any clues on which ones, like two or three that you might be considering
So
for the next go round?
first of all, there's always a caveat, folks, right? Like things can change. And part of it too is because we are working in conjunction with Paizo. We run things by them. And we probably wouldn't run something that they were putting out in their second edition because I know they're going to reprint some of their stuff. We might not do that. I'm a big fan of, as people have said before, Kingmaker. If we went far enough back, I would also love to do Shackled City, especially because for anybody who joined Paizo's world after they became, bigger, right? Like they might not have played the old 3.5 modules that Paizo wrote. And I think it was really well done. I think obviously their skill evolved, right, as they played more or as they created more and more. But there's charm to those old modules when they put the extra stuff in. And any adventure path, and this might encompass too many of Paizo's adventure paths, any adventure path in which the characters get pulled in a way where they either have to sacrifice something or redeem something, or like where they really, you can see the players get more and more invested in it. There's just something to it. And you're the worst. I'm gonna hide behind research material. So yeah, I would love to do any of those. I also want us to, if we can, put out more of the anybody I'm sure knows the term splat books, but everybody I think has enjoyed the class edges, so I know there's desire for the Magus, which I know is popular, Gunslinger, more monsters. Who doesn't want more monsters? And the nice thing you get with the Adventure Pass, and the thing that we wanted to do with them, is when we get something new, like the bestiary we have out right now doesn't have the Nightshade Nightwing, which for anybody who doesn't know, it's this big horrific bird from the Shadow Plane.
Mike, I'm going to interrupt you real quick. Which one of you just did it? Because I just saw the Kickstarter total drop, and then it came back and was up $30. So who just did their pledge and then added the pawns on? I think I saw somebody do it live.
Your instructions, Donald. You get 1% of that extra $30.
It was literally like, it was I saw it and I go down and I was like, oh, that sucks. And then it went back up and it was like, wait a minute, that's $30 more than the last one. It can't be literally. I saw the consequences of my statements. But so if you're in chat on any of the chats, drop it in. I want to see it. But sorry, Mike, you continue.
You're now Donald's new best friend.
But yeah, what
I'm going to come by your house.
Is if you have creatures that are kind of outside the normal ones that might be in the bestiary. They're more unique. They're more fringe. You can still keep them in the book. And so for anybody who's run, one thing we like to do is avoid opening as many books, right, as possible. We don't want you to have to open 30 books, of course. Yeah. So we want to make sure all the beasties are in there, right? And so you get to, whether it's, a goblin dog, which, is in the core bestiary, or the Nightwing, which isn't anywhere. It's in the book for you, and you can use it to take out your players. I mean, have fun with your players.
The truth comes out.
Same thing.
I joke a lot about killing, and I think this is the unspoken rule, sometimes spoken rule, that every GM knows. The right level, for the most part, is to make your players think they're going to die, and then watch them pull out and feel heroic for it, right? Like, if you get that feeling, I think you almost always see a group that just falls in love with the play style.
Right.
So here's also adding on to the earlier questions, I didn't let Don speak. Don has been hard at work all day making sure that if for some reason you missed the Kickstarter, and we don't want to give you any reason not to back right now, but we have been on top of our game recently, and instead of waiting weeks and weeks and weeks to open pre-orders, I think Don's got some exciting news.
Well, okay, so put me on the spot here.
It's so you got to finish it tonight.
Oh, you don't know how true that can be. Somebody's got to make all the product images now. We are looking at we are looking to open much faster the Game Changer page. So if you backed the first Pathfinder Kickstarter, we use Pledge Manager, but since then we've developed some new technology, and if you've joined us for the Superpowers Companion or the Fantasy Companion, or if you were in Holler or High Plains, you got to use the Order Manager on our website via our Game Changer plugin. And so what that allows is a couple of things. So first off, we're going to get the pre-orders up much faster because we can focus on it's a process that we're familiar with, right? We don't have to kind of go out to the Pledge Manager stuff. We honestly live and breathe on our website. Some of us do. So it allows us to get things up a lot faster. So we're going to have the pre-orders up, hopefully for you folks, tomorrow.
If not, give us the weekend,
Yeah. Tomorrow into next week. It depends on, there's a couple of logistics questions that we need to answer before we can, because, it'd be weird if we put like a couple of stuff up and then had to answer the questions and put the rest of the stuff up. So this weekend, keep an eye out, and we will launch going into next week the pre-orders. Unfortunately, we still have to wait for the Kickstarter processing to get us so we can import all of the backers. Exactly. So for backers, it'll still be about
days for that to migrate over. Yeah.
Yeah. So once we have access, we'll throw you folks in, and you'll be able to upgrade. For upgrading, the other thing that Game Changer allows us to do is you can add on anything that is in stock and available on our website, right? So if you have a print order, you can go ahead and add any other print thing that we have in stock, and that will get shipped with your order. We highly recommend this for our international backers. It's one of the ways we can get you the best bang for buck when it comes to your shipping. And then also, if another thing we like to recommend with that is if you've got a couple of friends that, even if it's not, okay, I'm going to get 2 extra advanced player guide copies because my friends want it, but also like, oh, my friend's been wanting to run, ETU for a while. You can go and grab an ETU book, and that way it's one shipping cost, make it as cheap as possible for you folks. Then you can also add on digital stuff, right? So I know we've had a bunch of folks asking about, I want to get the GM print, or sorry, the player print tier, and then get all of the curse stuff in digital. I'm the same way. I like having all of my campaign stuff digital, and then having my rules that I reference all the time in physical. You can do that as well. You're just going to look for the Curse of the Crimson Throne PDF bundle, and that'll have everything in. So you grab that, and you've got everything that was basically the difference between the GM and the player tiers. That's that PDF bundle you're going to be looking for.
Nice. And then this is an easy question. We actually have really great news for you, Daniel. So the stuff that was missing from the Ultimate Core box set and the Be a Rune Lords, and then anybody who added them on as add-ons, the Allies and Adversary cards, the Archetype cards set 2, and the bookmarks, they have arrived in the warehouse. So that means that we are processing Rifts Atlantis at the same time. So I can't guarantee when they'll ship out, but they are... Like they exist. They are in the United States. They are in our warehouse, and the warehouse was asking us for the list of people who need them today. So they're on the warehouse's manager's mind. So good news, you will get your stuff soon.tm. Like
y'all don't even know the celebrations that happen around here when we get stuff in the warehouse, because until then, it's literally like, where in the world is Carmen San Diego? We're like, I think it's on a bus in Atlanta somewhere. I think they're stuck over on the shore. Hilarious.
Yeah, it's true. And then like, we had a great comment on one of the Kickstarters, and they're like, I was worried it was stolen or missing, and it's like we had a shipment rerouted from like Long Beach to I think Philadelphia or East Coast. It had to traverse the Panama Canal because Long Beach couldn't take us on time because they were robbing the trains coming out of the depot. So it's like, there's robberies have been a thing. Luckily, none of our things have been stolen yet. But yes, it's been crazy in shipping. So we are thrilled. So Atlantis is shipping. You will get this stuff soon, and we're seeing clear skies. It's still pretty adventurous out there in the shipping world, but the problems are getting smaller. And okay, Jodi's back, so we can get. So let's see. Let's boot Scorch.
I want to.
Jodi.
While we have a second here, I do want to give a shout out. I want to call them unsung heroes because, they sometimes show up in streams and whatnot. But, I will have a small break, between the end of the Kickstarter and when feedback starts coming in. But just there are people there's Don, but like Simon. I know we all know
Don and Simon. These are the guys getting it all done.
Yeah, but people who don't get the breaks, like you don't get to see the long hours and the hard pressure that comes in with the work these people do, and so there's a lot besides us that just show up on the streams. That put a lot of effort in and cry on the phone with shipping crews.
Literal tears. Yeah.
No, it's true. Yes, and the customer service, like those people are fantastic. They do more than you know, because every time we have like a website glitch that screws up 4,000 orders, it's this customer service folks back there fixing it and doing hand delivery and
one order at a time.
Right? We had to do that once. That was fun. But no, this Kickstarter has actually gone pretty smooth. I don't think we've had a whole lot of hiccups. It's a little easier because we kind of packed all the goodness up front. But because we are on the tight time schedule, I want to get to Daryl. We usually do this after the Kickstarter is done, and then we'll sneak peek what's coming next. But
there's no kicked out right after this to talk to the aces.
Right? So Daryl
got awesome stuff too.
That's true. Yes, it'll be good to see Carl and crew. So Daryl, you're working on something. It just might be our next crowdfunder. Tell us a little bit about it, sir.
Yeah, so it's called Legend of Ghost Mountain. What's behind me is our cover. So it's a setting that comes from the mind of Shane's Henley, as so many of our awesome settings do. And he trusted me to take it and run with it. And we're going to be doing it as a game changer on the PEG site. And we're calling it, it's a new kind of setup that we're working on called a Savage World Saga. And I would say 50 Fathoms was kind of like the prototype of this, right? Where it's an adventurous setting that you're going to play in, but it's got a story that you will finish. And there's a lot of stuff that goes into that. And this is a setting of mystical martial arts mayhem, where you're all ghost wardens fighting the undead.
Okay, so you got a request to see the six. So that's we're not admiring you, Daryl. We're just admiring the very awesome background.
I want to see the cover. Show them the cover. That's so cool.
Do we want to? I could pull it up real quick. I can pull it
Yeah,
up.
dude.
Yeah. We'll screen grab it. Yeah.
Let me. Let me save all the other things that I've been working on throughout the day that people should not see before I
Hide that
share my
tab.
screen.
Hide all those tabs.
So I want to say too, that is one of the 2 top things I'm really excited for next. There's Legend of Ghost Mountain and Caveat because we've been talking about it. But the ETU Middle School, the Pine Box Middle School,
Pine Box Middle School. I think we're
we've
all
had
speaking
some.
about that.
I've been lucky enough to be in some of the meetings where we've been discussing things in it lately, and I so badly now want to run a game where everybody starts in middle school and eventually makes it up into ETU. I think that would just be so phenomenally fun. So I am crazy excited for those 2 things.
For
All
I
right,
mean,
well-
for Pine Box.
We
Middle,
just
sorry,
hit
you have to-
170, by the way.
Woohoo!
Woo!
Wow!
Nice.
Woo! Thank you, everybody.
Okay.
On Pine Box Middle, I just got to say, way back in the dark ages, which I guess now would be about 10 years ago, our daughters actually ran a Pine Box Middle School game using ETU at Genghis Khan when they were taken out there as special guests. And they had so much fun because they were in middle school themselves. And they love the ETU setting. Look at that number.
Which one of you
Wow.
crazy people pledged the exact amount to get 170,000?
Just so we can do this, yeah.
Oh my god! Wow, thank you, folks.
Yeah, thank you. That is so cool.
Okay, so back to playing ETU. I keep making this mistake. I mean, yes, ETU is the brand, but Pine Box Middle School.
Pine Box Middle School.
Oh,
Right,
it's
because
so
the middle school's not named East Texas University.
We were joking about that at dinner last night. ETU Middle School is the building in the middle of campus. That's the middle school at ETU. Uh-huh. Oh,
All right.
Nice.
So
I am
have-
very excited about Pine Box Middle School because, as Mike said, and Daryl's there, and yeah, some of the guys, Don. We got to discuss with Tracy, who's working on some of the rules, and
Yeah, just looking at him like, oh boy, we're in for it. This is going to be great.
it's
yeah.
going to be so cool.
Ed and Preston
also-
behind the scenes as usual. Yeah.
Mhm.
And I don't want to take too much emphasis off of Legend of Ghost Mountain because I've been playing a Keymaster in Deadlands now for almost a year. And I'm just like, yes, please give me all of those new edges, that cool emotion thing you've been talking about. Like,
yeah. So, and one of the things going into this, that Shane felt strongly about is like almost every other, martial arts setting is going to do animal-based styles, like we have in the real world. But this is a fantasy setting. They would have something different. Like, here's what the new spin that we could put on that. And so in ours, rather than, monkey and tiger and things like that, there are these 5 super strong emotions. And these are also the same emotions that bring the dead back, right? Whether they're corpses that are reanimated or whether they're the spirits that have flown out of those corpses as ghosts. It's strong emotion that powers that. Those same emotions also power your kung fu. So you can have a rage style or joy, martial arts. You'd have the joyful palm or the sorrowful blade, things like that. And disgust and fear are my 2 favorites.
we were talking about that with our girls too. Because it just talk to my children, I guess, because they get all the inside scoop and nobody knows it. But we were talking to them and they had a lot of fun, like pantomiming the facial emotions of those martial arts. And it was so much fun to be like, oh, I have the disgust power. Like, not
Yeah, that's how you earn those like bennies and the key, energy to be able to use more martial arts. So your role playing also enhances your fighting.
If you need somebody to play test, Daryl.
Yeah, we've actually done a lot. And I will say the last time I checked, I've got a Gen Con. There's 2 seats open. Friday night at 8, Legend of Ghost Mountain. If you guys are at Gen Con and want to play, look it up.
All right.
I mean, those seats would be gone.
My emotion is going to be deja vu. I feel like we've had this fight before.
Here we go. Hey, there's the cover.
Boom.
There it is. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe
Oh, it's so
Photoshop
cool.
will zoom in a little
Yeah, you
bit
got to
more.
zoom in on that.
Yes.
The
Someone said
action.
they're going to have zombies. Yep, there's the zombies, but there's also ghosts. there's also demons, monsters, and those 5 characters that we see in the front. There are 5 ghost wardens, one for each of the major emotions. They've all got their own backstories, and the fun thing about a saga is we can tie those characters and backgrounds directly into the setting. So you can build your own guy. We have got rules for that too, and also ways to be like, oh, and by the way, here's how you might steal this, pre-gen character's hooks so that your guy, that's going through these things, But they've all got kind of their own unique story elements and arcs that they go through during the story.
So Daryl, if I wanted to, base it on myself, what kind of fighting style would I have for Slacker?
So the
Nope.
Slacker, you'd probably be the Fear style. That's Flying Fox. She's the best, right? Because it can both be instilling fear in others, but and again, in all of these, there's the yin yang element on all of that, right? So if fear is your emotion, it could be around projecting fear and being scary, or it could be around feeling fear, which is Flying Fox. And she's really good at running away and staying out of the thick of combat. And
Wow.
yeah, but the great thing is, if you have to make a fear roll, and you've got that style, like their big ability is they automatically get the adrenaline result instead of
Oh, that is amazing.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, it gets scared, but your fear warden this is their element, right? They're used to this.
Do you by chance? I know this is a long shot because I didn't think that this was going to come beforehand. Do you know who did the art for the cover?
Oh my god! And
Oh.
I donned
Hold up.
you. Yeah, please. It'll be in the
Oh,
image
crap.
name.
It's in the file name.
Once. No, for once it's not in the file name.
Oh no!
Let me look. Hold up. We got an email thread.
Yeah, we've got an email thread because it's because
Beautiful, yeah.
it was just finished a couple of weeks ago, and when this came in, we were all so thrilled. We were like, yes, that's it, yes.
I will raise a glass to you, Grom. I appreciate you your sacrifice.
All right.
It looks so cool. And
Yes, Shaggy and Scooby are absolutely fear masters. Yeah.
I did like the flat palm talk to the hand.
Yes, yeah. Well, and that's disgust is absolutely the flat palm because their whole thing is they can push people away. And so especially like they're the crowd control style.
Ace got it.
Ace came through. Ace is in the
Thank
chat. Bad Moon Art Studio.
Bad Moon, awesome.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, Aaron. Yeah.
Beautiful.
I forgot the email thread for all of the Ghost Mountain art stuff is 100 emails deep.
Because we're working hard to make this right, y'all. Like, it's a cool setting, and we want to make sure it's the best it can be when it goes out to you guys.
Yeah.
So game
No,
changer.
That's awesome.
It's one of the things we get to talk about, kind of like I said earlier, we get to talk about all the great people who do the game design like you. But I
I'm
want to
pretty great.
we also call out the Dream Crushers who get into meetings with us and tell us how our rules aren't going to work.
That we Clint. Screw you, Clint.
Yeah, that's like the one weekly meeting I'm glad I don't have to attend because, like, you have like if we have a meeting with people after that, everyone's just crying and there's just, Clint destroyed my wonderful idea for a mechanic. And,
Oh, the sweet, sweet tears. How they empower me.
Cried many of them.
Cry, baby, cry.
I honestly think Shane brought in Daryl just so that he could see me cry.
Yeah.
That's the whole point of Daryl, to be the anti-Clint.
You do
So
talk
that when
about
I say
yin and
something,
yang.
Daryl would go, "That'd be a great idea. I hate it."
is this the rock paper scissors of game mastery soul crushing? It's like,
That's it.
Clint kills Shane kills Daryl kills Clint.
Right. That is technically correct, but not much fun. So
The one thing though that comes from this is we'll sit in a meeting, and so like the Advanced Player's Guide, right, has a few new powers. I'll run a list by Clint. He'll go, okay, these 3 I could see happening, or these 5 I could see happening. And they'll run it by Shane, and he'll be like, all right, well, we've got this and this, which kind of covered these 2 here. And they'll have a meeting, and Daryl or somebody else will go, actually, in Deadlands, we have a power that does this, and so you could bring that over instead. And so there's just this huge collaboration that comes from everybody because they get to work so closely on a single project, and we'll all contribute. My favorite thing that I did to myself, which was terrible, would be to look at something and give feedback to Shane, and then Shane goes, all right, well then do it. And it's like, I'm going for somebody else to do it. And so you have these you have everybody who focuses hard on the book, and then you have the rest of the crew, which just contributes so much, like whether it's the inspiration or the rules fixing, or dream crushing, Clint.
Having those extra points of view, having a team supporting an effort.
Yeah.
And those support roles are everything. They're everything.
So
For sure.
I can also do. I realized I can do another little bit of a sneak peek if folks want to see it. It's not. I just slapped it on there because we ain't done the layout yet. But we could also show off the Legend of Ghost Mountain logo.
Yes.
I'm in favor of this.
I am also in favor.
Here we go. So there's only 15 minutes to back the stream, guys. So before we shoot the logo, make sure if you're on the Kickstarter, 15 minutes. Okay.
Only 15 minutes, and we are over the 170 mark, but more exciting, we're at 1567 backers.
That is fantastic. Ooh, I haven't even seen this.
Right?
Oh, that looks so cool.
My first look too. That's Ace, right? Aaron designed that? Yeah.
Yes, Aaron did
nice.
this.
Yeah.
Now, of course, I just made the logo really big.
Really big, so we can all see it. Right.
There's no dragon. There are no dragons in this book.
That's going to be a weird
This is
cover.
not-
but yeah.
Not final layout, like I said.
Yeah, but by the end, we'll have the logo covering the entire piece of art.
Well, we should see it on the shelf.
We just had Carl enter the backstage, and he's shaking his head at Donald's horrible layout design. No, it's fantastic. It's fantastic. Oh my God, it's so big.
Leon's getting larger.
Oh, I love it.
I
No,
do love the mountain.
I think we also. I think Ace is working on, or this is the first of him finding out that this is something that's going to be on his plate. I don't remember the horizontal version.
You heard it here first, folks, before he knew what his job was.
Yeah.
We're telling you.
They're just making work for him left and right. It's
That's the
cool.
danger of showing up to these live streams. We'll give you stuff to do.
Right. Yeah, by the way, we're crowdfunding that in a couple weeks, man. So get on it.
All right. Yeah, that's so great.
Thank you, Daniel. That is going to be one that's worth saving for.
Yes.
So one thing I want to touch back on real quick. Not that I haven't loved talking about Legend of Ghost Mountain, because
this is the Pathfinder meeting.
I'm going to slacker foo some Legend of Ghost Mountain. Trust me. We've talked about the Advanced Player's Guide. A little more without spoiling it, though, for Curse of the Crimson Throne. Like you would expect, there's going to be a nice map for Corvosa. Right, a lot's happening in Corvosa. You're going to have a lot of information in the Guide to Corvosa about the different people that run the city. And things like that just give you information. One of my favorite things they do is rumors. Not just useful rumors, so as the GM, you'll know whether they're actually true or false. So whether somebody is role-playing, going into a tavern looking for gossip, or whether they're networking, right? You have this list of things you can do, and it evolves as the adventure progresses. And you can go back and adjust some rumors if the adventurers do something before you get to the rumor. So instead of hearing about this bad thing that's happening, you can hear, oh yeah, I heard, it was 2 hill giants that saved those orphans, and it's, your half-orc monks. There's different modifiers or things that can occur based on the state of Corvosa. So, maybe you're under a plague, maybe you're under martial law, maybe you're there for the 1 week where everything's good.
Nice little vacation.
Come to Corvosa, they said. That's
But
great.
then the adventurers blow into town, and that ruins it all anyway.
Right. There's it's a small section that's got some encounter lists for the different areas. So if you don't want to just do the travel mechanics, but you want to instill a sense of foreboding as your players are traveling through the hinterlands, you can do that. It's got monsters. And if you want to throw a Havaro at your party because they did something to wrong you and you decide to throw a Chthonian-style demigod at them, you can.
As you do.
I won't judge you. They might. So there's a lot of cool stuff in there. Anybody who has in the past read about it or read reviews on it, there is just a lot that goes into. John, I feel like you're trying to go for shades of red here.
Well, your complexion went a little white, so we need to get some more red back in your face.
Yeah, I can see that. All right.
But I love that sort of stuff, right? Because that was one of the things.
I would like to say that's not what happened, Mike. Your complexion is now more porcelain.
Like a throne. Like a
throne. Like a throne.
I've been cursed. So yeah, there is a lot in this book. There's crazy monsters. If you're looking for, even if you're just grabbing it to back because you're a backer and you don't know that you'll run it, there's a lot of antagonists in there that are specialized and built with really cool things into them. Obviously, it's more towards Curse of the Crimson Throne, but I have on at least one occasion, if not more, grabbed one of them out just because I'm like, oh, this is what I wanted. So there we are. Throw this, why rebuild the wheel if you have to?
Exactly. Life is hard, y'all. Mike did the work for us. I'll totally steal it.
And then he comes on the stream and is struck by the curse of the crimson face.
Because we just can't talk enough praise about them.
It is.
Which
It's
is
totally
true.
Yeah,
It's
but
totally
it is
true.
what he's talking about. Some of these foes is very interesting because even if you're not using them, it also could inspire some of these concepts of taking a foe outside the box sometimes and how you deal with them.
Oh, if we're talking about stealing anything, Clint, I am stealing your teleport thing that you guys talked about for Deadlands. Oh yeah. No, that is fantastic.
Yeah, if you missed the Duet stream, you got to catch it on demand, folks. Rewind. It's good choice material in there.
Yeah, rewind after like another hour and a half. Because
That's true.
Coming.
Right? You got the awesome
What's
aces on
sad
deck.
is I did that to my own character who has the power.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, this doesn't feel like Deadlands enough. It should be horrific teleportation.
These are the kind of loving gifts he gives me. He's like, hey, what if we did this to my character? And I go, yeah. Why don't we do that?
Yeah, no. There's so many brilliant things in here, and as you can tell just from talking to other people, there's so much stuff that you can get inspired with. It's fantastic.
This does have a special place in my heart because Curse of the Crimson Throne was the first adventure path I got complete. It was the first one there. And,
my first one was I've said before, Shackled City. Wait, that was the first one I completed running.
okay.
So if this speaks to anything, I have legitimately, and this was probably 10 years apart, but I have run the same group through the same Paizo module twice, right? And I've known what they did, and that's what's crazy, right? Is because I'll know, oh, I know they did this, and this, and so I would just make sure they do the other things instead. But like I said, it was like 10 years apart, but it was so much fun to like watch how like everything changed based on what they chose to do that time. It's not Skyrim sandbox where you just go left forever and run into something, but it's pretty good at what it does.
But the permutations are there for
Yeah.
replay value. And that's one of the, like I say, that's one of the great things about boxed adventures, right? Man, someone did that work for me. And yeah, I write my own, but that's work. When it comes Saturday night, it's like, oh, good. It's here and it's great. Ah, yes.
And I'm a weirdo. I love reading these things. I have the entire Werewolf book line. I've run one game of Werewolf. I just read it all, right? Because I enjoy reading these things. So I'm crazy. I'll get the book, pour through it, get inspired, get excited. Yeah.
You're not the only one.
Yeah.
You're not the
All right, Mike, remind me later when we're talking to tell you my werewolf story.
Okay.
Okay, so one quick divagation before we get to the final few minutes. So, because we are so awesome at Pinnacle and licensed from Paizo, the other game industry folks are following our lead now because we're the coolest kids. So, to help this out, if you love Corvosa and you want to play more in Corvosa besides picking up the Kickstarter, which there's less 6 minutes left, so go do it now. Get those pawns because you save on the shipping on the pawns. But I promised I'd pitch it. The Steve Jackson Games is doing a board game. They're remaking Revolution, which is a fantastic board game of stabby, intrigue, setting it in Corvosa. So they are going to be coming to Kickstarter soon. So we'll put out a little announcement on our Kickstarter when they launch. But we promised Paizo we'd help out our friends in the industry who are doing this. They're playing in the same pool we're playing in, so that is something to keep an eye out for. And then, let's see, 5 minutes to go.
5 minutes to go.
170,000. That's
a trend that I love. Like on the independent side of this, is all of the companies are like, look, we're here to just make cool games, right? So like, let's talk. Let's figure out how to make this happen. I want to make this cool game, and I've been consistently surprised how open like every company is to that conversation, because it really is about the game. It's about having fun. I love that. Love it.
well, and speaking about Mr. Real Deal, so Shane couldn't join us in the stream tonight, but he did want to pass along his sincere thank you for all of the love and support. The fact that we get to celebrate decades. I mean, we're going to come up on the 20 years of Savage Worlds, 25 of Deadlands. It is amazing that you guys have been with Shane and the crew for this long journey, and the fact that we get to play in Sandbox, the Paizo Sandbox now with Pathfinder. It's just, I mean, your support for us allows us to go out and make these kind of deals happen. So he can't be in the stream tonight, but Mr. Hensley did want to pass along his love for you guys and says that he is reading every comment and
the Palladium folks for Rifts.
Oh, I mean, amazing.
People that we've allied.
It's
great.
It's one I've heard Shane say before, but it's high tide raises all ships, and it's so true, right? Like, I love all the dedication stuff that's gone into everybody following Savage Worlds Pathfinder, which I know helps us get momentum going for the next thing, and then that helps getting momentum going for the next thing after that, and it's so fantastic, and the community is so friendly. This is a minor side tangent, one that I didn't clear with anybody, but I've had plenty of Kickstarters, and one of them was, I want to say it was Oathsworn. It might have been, but it was a board game. And basically, it might have been them. But basically, they ran into a situation with all the crazy shipping stuff. They made this big box, like not RPG, but board game. And they were like, hey, backers, we're sorry. If everybody can do $25 to shipping, we're going to cover the other, $50,000 plus dollars that have to go into it. And, I think less than a week later, they were like, oh my gosh, everybody, thank you so much. And they had already covered, way more than they had needed. But everybody's been so supportive and great in just such a hard time for game designers, right? It's fantastic to see a community that's not just Pinnacle fans or not just Paizo fans, but just,
fans
around the world,
fans,
right? That just we're in this together.
Oh,
Shane,
guys, we're all gonna cry. It's so
We
good.
are. And
minutes
we've
to
got like
go.
2 minutes left. So if you want to join us in this Kickstarter and get exclusives like the Paizo Pawns, do it now. Your time's running out. Oh my gosh.
Right? If
Right.
not, enjoy the confetti.
That's right.
It's coming.
Oh, it's in seconds now.
Yeah.
Oh, 114, awesome.
This whole end of the Kickstarter comes with its own pros and confetti.
You know,
That one's for you, John Doom.
I hate dad jokes so much.
Oh, I love them. Oh, at the core of my being, I am all about puns.
No.
Oh, so much.
I guess.
I didn't wear my Batman shirt this time. Now that makes me sad. I'll have to wear it on the next stream I'm in.
Okay, I'm gonna hold you to it. I'm gonna hold you to it.
Right.
But guys, so stick around even after. We are going to, in a few minutes after we celebrate the finale of the Kickstarter, we're gonna roll into our Savage World Summer Showcase tonight. We've got excellent folks. We've got the guys from Doghouse Rules, Trailer Park Shark Attack, and Fort Griffin, and all of the goodness. They have a Kickstarter coming up called Dust Bunnies, which looks hilarious. And then we've got a representative from Sounds Like Crows, the best Savage Worlds podcast. I mean, there's some great ones out there, but these guys are fantastic. Their Deadlands material is so on point. They've got a new one called Terminus, which is fantastic and interesting, and we have a minute left, so stick around. We'll go dark a bit to let people exit gracefully. But 45 seconds.
I just want to point out, it's not for this one, but Chris Warner for Doghouse Rules, right? He was a big part in the first Pathfinder Kickstarter,
Absolutely.
the core book. So if you're sticking around to watch him, just know that he also had a big hand in that. He was a great guy to work with.
And it looks so delicious because Carl did the layout.
Yeah.
This is it. And Carl Kiesler at Doghouse. Yes, he's one of those people behind the scenes that does so much.
Yeah. So if they got a project coming, you definitely want to pay attention to it. They're great guys.
And if you ever get a chance to meet them at a convention or something, do say hi because they're super cool. 11, 10, 9,
8, 7, 6,
6,
5,
4,
3,
2,
1.
1.
Woo! Confetti! Oh, awesome, folks. We are so glad that you came on this fun journey with us. It's been a great time. Obviously, we're going to be doing more of this because Mike's awesome at it, and the crew, Mike and Chris and Carl and everybody else. Look at that! It even changed. How nice is that? So soon we will be opening this up for pre-orders. It will not take us weeks. It will take us days, hopefully. And again, all good things. The last of the last campaign is shipping out for the few folks who needed to get those extras that didn't come the first time. That's in our warehouse. It'll be shipping soon. And other than that, guys, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you all for backing.
Thank you all. Yes.
Thank
Very much.
you.
Yes.
Thank you.
We definitely look forward to Daryl's upcoming Game Changer. That will be on our crowdfunding our crowdfunding platform. So look for Legend of Ghost Mountain
Legend
on
of Ghost Mountain.
peginc.com. So let's see. I'm gonna hide you guys and mute your mics, and then we'll be off to the races.
Stick around.
Bye.
Stick around for the aces.
Yeah,
They're
stick
awesome.
around for these guys.
The rest of you don't go anywhere. Let's see.
All right, folks.
You're still hot, Mike. You're still hot,
Yep,
Mike.
we're still talking. Don't.
Yeah.
Don't talk, Mike.
They're going
Mike.
straight into the summer
I think
showcase.
you do. I'm going to put out.
Don't give away any more secrets. Although
No more spoilers. We're done. We're done.
Right,
No
right.
F-bombs.
And I know we're off screen, but they can still hear us.
They can still hear us. Okay. Let's see.
So we get kicked off and the aces are on.
Later, folks.
Great seeing you guys. I'll talk to y'all later.
Boom! Savage World Summer Showcase. Totally different show. We weren't just talking about the Kickstarter countdown.
Totally different show.
Right. Well, welcome, guys. This is an exciting one. I planned this one. There's machinations here. This wasn't just randomness on trying to bring the Sounds Like Crows and the Doghouse Rules
That makes
guys
me
together.
feel slightly better. I had the fear that it was a virtual roll the die on the list of who is this? Who is going to say yes?
No. This one's special. So you guys are my favorites. Carl and I met in person. I still haven't met Chris. We definitely need to get together. And this Sounds Like Crows boys. Love that you're local in Colorado. Big fan. And so let's see. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So
big fan here too.
Right, great
Yeah,
stuff.
Great podcast.
So, guys, let's start. So, let's start with you, Isaac. Tell us what is Sounds Like Crows. What do you guys offer? Tell us about your previous campaign, and then we'll dig into Terminus because Terminus is just amazing. So,
Sure thing. It sounds like Crows is a podcast that my brother Caleb, who is working tonight and can't be here. He's in the podcast mines out there working on fresh content. But my brother Caleb kicked off Sounds Like Crows, which is an actual play, highly edited actual play podcast about a group of 5 brothers in the Deadlands universe who return home after their mother's untimely murder, and then they proceed to do what you do in westerns, which is find out who did it and make them pay, even if that is each other. That's the vibe. It's we love westerns. We love brothers, like brotherhood kind of stories, and that's the vibe. We just wrapped that show 8 months ago now or so, and we're now onto the new one.
Yeah, so I'm gonna pull up your website. So the so I love the original, the Sounds Like Crows. It is. It really touches all the great Deadlands stuff, like the horror, the kind of the magical and weirdness elements. It's all in there. But it's elegant, right? It doesn't cross into B movie at all. I mean, it's very character driven. The voice acting is fantastic. So if you guys haven't checked out Sounds Like Crows, it's very simple to get down. SoundsLikeCrows.com is where you can go and start getting the backstory. Right now, it's all the Terminus, which is fantastic. But you guys also did the spin-off show Harrison Cooper versus the West, which
Harrison
is really
Cooper.
fun too.
Yeah, if you want a bite-size dive into Deadlands with a truly hilarious group of people, the Harrison Cooper is some of the funniest content I've listened to. So if you want to dive into Deadlands, it's its own standalone series that really just kind of brings it to life. Harrison and Cooper are two agents who deal with everything by deciding that it's a problem that should be exploded. There's shenanigans. There's good content there. So if you want a really short series, that's the one to dive into. If you want a longer form, more narrative heavy, drama driven story, then Sounds Like Crows itself is probably the right place. Like you said, man, we go all over the Deadlands setting. It was our goal we wanted to do like high quality production was our number one mantra since day one, and that's been what we do.
Well, and one of my favorite things about this series is you don't shy away from hurting the characters. I mean, this isn't a protected scripted show where everything has to be just so. I mean, the roll of the dice plays it, and I mean, there's the number of like physical and emotional scars are real, and I think that's what makes it a great show.
Yeah, that's right. Like that's so important. That's why we all play RPGs, right? Because I don't know, like we grew up playing those games outside and just running around and shooting finger guns at each other. But really, at the end of the day, like we need something to like drive that forward. And failure is the most interesting. Failure is the most interesting part of stories. And dice give you lots of failure, as one of our players, Marshall, who plays Thaddeus on the show, knows so well. His dice are cursed. I've never played a game with somebody with worse dice than Marshall Sims. I don't understand it. I don't know if you guys have anybody in your groups that is the cursed dice carrier.
Well, Jodi for sure. Jodi loves. She rolls with the crit fails.
Yeah, Jodi for sure.
Right. That's the only thing with Savage Worlds, though. It's like if you have shitty dice but you don't get a crit fail, that is the worst because there's no narrative benefit. It doesn't spur like let's do something cool and interesting with this failure. It's just like, oh great, you're mediocre. Thanks.
I gotta say for Sounds Like Crows, I listened to the whole thing, loved it, and I actually. When I went to GM my own Deadlands game, I stole ideas from it. Like the whole beginning, it's like Sons of Katie Elder. Like
yes, thank you.
Yeah,
yeah.
So
Sons of Katie Elder,
and I started a game just like that.
It's perfect.
It's excellent to grab ideas from and things like that.
Yeah,
fantastic.
The thing the Sons of Katie Elder, huge inspiration for the kickoff of that. Obviously, we grew up watching westerns. I have 3 brothers, so there's 4 boys in the house, right? So like it was a very iconic movie for us to grow up on.
Yeah.
But what's your favorite western movie?
We asked the question. That one's wow.
That is a tough one. That is a tough one. I think
so many.
Oh man, yeah. Truthfully, it's at this point it's probably got to be Django Unchained. I think that is just it's on another level. But
That's a good choice. That's a good
yeah,
choice.
it's not bad. There Will Be Blood is pretty high up there for me.
Like that movie. Yeah.
The classic though, Magnificent Seven. Like I don't know, I've probably seen Magnificent Seven more than any other Western. That's probably like the most watched one. Yeah.
For me, it's The Outlaw Josie Wales. Sorry,
Oh my gosh.
I didn't want to
Yeah.
interrupt you because I'm fascinated listeing to you, but I was very curious when you started talking about Western movies.
Outlaw Josie Wales. Yeah, man. We grew up on John Wayne, and grew up in Texas, Colorado, like Montana. Like that's where we spent all of our time. So Westerns, Westerns and brotherhood, man. But to your point, Carl, like that start with family. Like I've always played games where everybody's like part of the same mercenary group, or we're all like hired guns or what have you, but just we're all brothers. Oh shit! I know how to rip on my brothers, and brothers rip on each other endlessly.
Yeah.
And gosh, that's such a fun setup. I try to force as much family into my games now as possible, because just that like automatic deep relationship you can do. It's easy to do callbacks to your childhood and youth, and man,
exactly.
some good
There's so
times.
much to build on from that. So,
There is. Yeah, and family. Yeah, I mentioned like so many brothers. Like it's such a good theme, right?
Yeah. So the so keeping on point. Everybody wants to know the new season, the new show. Can we talk about Terminus? Not that it departs from like the core values of Westerns on being gritty and frontier,
not at all.
and
Not at all.
this ain't. I mean, okay, my favorite's Deadwood. I don't know why any of you thought Movies was the best Western. Deadwood. Al Swearingen is the greatest character to be on a screen in the last 100 years, bar none. Thank you.
Well,
But
if we're talking miniseries, Lonesome Dove is my favorite. So
old school, sir.
can't beat
Wow,
that. That's amazing.
Lonesome Dove is up there. I watched a lot of Dr. Quinn. I don't know if y'all.
That was quality. It was.
Yeah, that was my mom's go-to. We grew up on. I grew up on Jane Austen and westerns. That was the.
Briscoe County.
That wasn't bad either. I mean, it's just so much good. So I hate
name westerns for the next 2 hours. Googling here.
I hate that people have this notion that like the Western is a dead genre. Like that, Hollywood kind of ran from it for a while compared to where it was, where everything was a Western. But oh my God, there's been such good Westerns, and it's still even. I mean, I even like the 310 to Yuma remake. I mean,
Yeah, I'm tempted to list Kill Bill is obviously a Western, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think that setup is entirely gone. Maybe it is.
No, it is the quintessential American setup. It is the even when you remove the West or whatever, just look what they're doing with Westworld. I mean, the 4 different seasons they're all very different, but they're poking at the same kind of things. Even if we've gone from heroes to anti-heroes, or we've gone very postmodern or whatever. So those questions are still fundamental questions. So
they are, and they're the same kind of question you want to answer in a show like Terminus, which is a space Western, is how I would pitch it. Right, it's the same trappings. The core of the Western story to me is rugged folks dealing with a world that is not entirely tamed. And what do you do in a world where power structures are kind of arbitrary? They change so much from time to time, and where people themselves are often the source of justice and right. Like a world where might makes right is a weird one. So for us, Terminus, like I said, space Western. So it's a sci-fi. It's set on the planet, on a planet that is not Earth, that is locked, like tidally locked with a star. So there's no day, no night. Like parts of it are always cold, parts of it are always hot. It gives us the nice biomes for it. The pitch I would give for this one is it's a sci-fi world that is inspired a little bit, I think, by the houses of Dune, and especially the idea of Arrakis, right? Like you give that planet to a family, and now they own it, and they own all the spice production. So in this universe, it is the idea that it is capitalism writ large. If you are if you're the family that has the monopoly rights to music, it's all yours. All of it's yours. If you're a family that has the rights to security or guns or whatever it may be, like those rights are regularly auctioned off as a family, or auctioned off, and corporations, families bid on them, and then they're given the rights to that monopoly, and then they're expected to enforce it, right? Like that's part of the Western vibe that we wanted to bring in, the old rancher vibe where you were expected to go out, you mended your fences or cut them as the as the cattle guys did, to trot over the farmer lands. But nobody's going to enforce these rights except you. So we all play scions of the Crow family who own the monopoly rights to creating edicts. And edicts are these weapons that are infused with strange powers and energies, and principally on this planet, on the planet of Almanac, it's the only planet in the world where souls can be manipulated in a physical, scientific sense. You can extract them, you can buy them, you can sell them, you can do things with them, and these edicts interact with them, and that's the setup for us.
Cool.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much there to mine. I mean, just, one, the tightly locked planet, two, this notion of like, the uniqueness with the souls, and I mean, I don't want to spoil something that we talked about like before, but I mean, yes, there's just there's interesting stuff you guys get to play with it. I mean, it is a rich world that you guys have built for this. And I don't even know how many episodes it'll take before. I mean, some of the stuff might never get revealed. It's there in the background and working mechanically. But it is as juicy and delicious as seasons like 1 through 5 of Game of Thrones, and or 4, 3, whatever, the good ones, like the good juicy part.
We try to get to it, and I'll say like all credit to Caleb, who's the producer, the director, the editor, the everything for this show, and has carried it on his back for the last 5 years. For this show, for Terminus, like a big thing for us is music, as always. But for this show, like he really went above and beyond. He found some local composers, some local musicians. They've been working on a lot of music for the show, a lot of art for the show. It's one of my, I think it's very, very good. I think he and I both talk about like we love Crows and we love the story. That is the original sounds like Crows, but man, wouldn't it be fun to redo it with everything that we've learned over the last 5 years of recording APs?
Well, right, and I mean, we've been shown on screen. I mean, this is a podcast, but the art that you guys have commissioned for this is fantastic. Love the character art. I think that brings Theater of Mind is great, but I think the kind of tone you've set with this classy kind of futuristic world, but all of the deadliness of the Old West is still there. And this is kind of why I wanted to pair you guys, because the Doghouse Rules folks, they are supreme masters of all the Western stuff they put out, which is fantastic, and two, Carl and crew are just really. It's Carl. Let's admit, like the nicest designed RPG books on the planet. So, guys, you have a Kickstarter coming up. We'll get to the crossover thing a little bit later. I don't want to spoil it right now because I don't even know if Shane gave me permission, but I'll risk it. We had a really good Kickstarter. If you guys didn't hear about it, it's not like I've been yelling at the top of my lungs.
Congratulations on that, by the way. That was fun to see.
Right?
Yeah.
So hopefully I won't get fired if we tell it. But there's some cool news that you guys have. So tell us about your Kickstarter, guys. It's not launched yet, but it's coming up soon. So tell us about Dust Bunnies.
I'll let Chris, because this is like his baby. So this is his thing.
Well, so Mr. Warner, before we start, thank you for all the work you did on Savage Pathfinder, bringing that to fruition, because 2 great Kickstarters from all of your work with the rules and really making that a reality. We don't want you to be an unsung hero tonight, because tonight's Kickstarter is partially your victory as well. So thank you, sir. That's amazing work. We appreciate you.
Thank you. I appreciate the acknowledgement there, but that was a team effort. I was very happy to be a part of it. It was a great project, and I'm glad to see that Savage Pathfinder is doing well. I enjoy doing it a lot, and it's funny. I run a game online that's a play-by-post Western, and I've just been doing some like weirdness in it, and I just brought in a couple of the Savage Pathfinder characters into the campaign to really shake things up, and that's been very, very strange, but. It's fun to be able to use it in a strange way, but I love doing that project. It was tremendous. So yeah, Dust Bunnies is our newest thing. I mean, Doghouse Rules, we've been around for about 20 years. I'll talk about that just for a little bit.
Yeah, do absolutely.
Yeah, so Carl, myself, and 3 other guys formed the company back in 2003, and we put out our first product in 2004, Sidewinder Recoiled. And then, we started doing Savage World stuff in, I don't know, around 2009, Carl. I think that's about right.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Became an ACE licensee and then started doing products. And we have the Fort Griffin setting that you mentioned, and we converted that to the Savage Worlds environment as well, and redid the whole thing and repackaged it as one product. And Carl did a great set of new maps. The maps are beautiful in that. And, that's been fun. And then, around that same time, that was 2018 or so, right before Suede came out, we also started doing Trailer Park Shark Attack. And that's Carl's brainchild, really. And that really re-energized Doghouse Rules. We kind of had a lull for a while there and weren't doing a whole lot. But Trailer Park Shark Attack really brought us back, and Carl and I worked a lot on that. We actually came out with a new title for that recently called Sharkano. That's
Yes.
a new episode for Trailer Park Shark Attack.
You need lava sharks. Why not?
Yeah,
you just need them.
Lava sharks. So, we've been doing that stuff for, quite some time. And we have a bunch of Savage Worlds products out there now, including some free titles. There's Sharkano.
I mean, having seen Carl run this at several, like the Savage Cruise or at our local conventions, Trailer Shark Park Attack is always a fan favorite. I mean, everybody loves it. It is fantastic. The amount of Parkers you get to kill off during any one episode is it's so much fun. And
what a good name. Trailer Park Shark Attack just rolls off the tongue, by the way. Trailer Park Shark Attack. How on earth, I'm sorry to interrupt you, Chris.
Right.
I apologize very
not
much.
at all.
How on earth did you come up with that name / that concept? I just have to.
That's Carl. I'll let Carl talk about
Okay.
Well, I'm a huge fan of all those shark movies, like from Sharknado to Franken-Shark to
Megalodon.
Five-Headed Shark Attack. I just kind of, at the time, I was like, what can be cool? And I was talking with my friend Todd Evans, and we were talking about a convention game, and he's like, well, I want this game. We're talking about some other game, and he's like, well, what if it was in a trailer park? I'm like, cool. And we chatting and texting. And the next thing you know, someone brings up sharks. I'm like, hey, what about sharks in the trailer park? So it kind of like all came together there. And there is a movie actually called Trailer Park Shark. So it came out around the same time. Yep. It came out at the same time. And it's very similar. I don't know which came first, chicken or the egg type thing. But
it's yours, Carl. We are on Team Carl right here.
But at the end we're gonna determine provenance right here. It's all you.
Yeah. At the end of Trailer Park Shark Attack, we got a huge list of all kinds of crazy movies that I've watched, from Lavalantula to all the Sharknadoes and all kinds of crazy movies that I just love. I love those movies. They're just so cheesy and bad. And,
that's
but it's good for gaming. It's so much fun. And
yeah. No, it's a perfect setting for that kind of stuff. I sometimes I have to ask that, because I've never. I think I was telling some people the most creative character I've ever made. One time I made a tiger folk. Like one time, and you're over here with Trailer Park Sharks. Like, what on earth is happening?
Yeah, we've got a Sharktopus in there. We've got five-headed sharks, cyborg sharks. Yeah, all kinds of stuff in that game. So
my favorite part about that game is, you're not worried about whether your character survives at all. In fact, the whole point is to die in some spectacular way fighting the sharks, and then when you do, you pull another character and you keep playing, and that's just a beautiful idea.
Yeah, it's a funnel basically, and you have a stack of 24 characters. You pull one at random at the beginning of the game, and that's who you're playing. It could be the trailer park manager, it could be a juggalo, it could be a teenage cheerleader.
No one cries when the juggalo dies.
Trailer park Santa.
Trailer park Santa, of course, yeah. And then when he dies, you just pull another one. You just keep going.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So you get to the end. So it's a lot of fun.
So I do want to talk about Dust Bunny, although I can talk all night about.
We'll get there. We got time. So Carl, tell us about Night of the Grizz first, and then I got Chris sent me a video for Dust Bunny, so we'll play the video to kick off that. So tell us about Night of the Grizz, as long as I got it up on the screen. I'm just me being lazy.
That's our newest. Yeah.
You want to go? You want me to go?
No, it's yours.
Well, yeah. So Night of the Grizz is like our third adventure we're using for Fort Griffin. We're basically using we had an idea of using the establishments and the maps and the people and the NPCs and all that from Fort Griffin, which is just a huge Western town. And we had an idea of like using these places and picking them, and I'll use this place, like 3 or 4 places, and coming up with an adventure for it. So the people that have Fort Griffin, they could run this on their own, or they can merge it into their Fort Griffin campaign, or of course, Night of the Grizz. There's as you can tell, there's kind of a zombie-looking bear on the cover.
It's so good. So good.
So you can probably play it with Deadlands if you want.
So did you have to zombie up that bear?
Yes, I did.
Nice.
Yeah. So we use a lot of stock art and stuff like that because we're on a real low budget, and I do a lot of photoshopping. So that was a normal bear. I just I zombified it up. So that was a lot of fun.
Also, shout out for Grizz Morgan as a name. My gosh, Grizz Morgan! What an immediately evocative name.
Yeah, he's the bad guy in this. So he kidnapped some children, and you play a posse, and you're after to get them. You're after to get them.
That's a weird Western, but in the last couple that we've done, we've also included in the weird Western, we have an alternative. If you want to play it like a traditional Western,
right.
You can. We have ideas for that. Same with the Hive is Alive, but in reverse. Hive Alive is a traditional, but we have a weird twist you can play in that. If you want
Yeah, that was our second Frontier Towns adventure, was Hive is Alive. And that was Chris's idea. And it's a really cool poker tournament. I had to do like this night of poker tournament and shenanigans that go on for a night. It's really cool. I love it. I played it, and it's fantastic. And the first one we did was Bad Night in El Rey, which
yes, yes.
Carl's run those.
I haven't played that one, but I've seen it played.
That's
Carl's
a killer
run
adventure.
some of these at conventions, and if you've never had the opportunity to play in a Carl Kiesler convention game, you haven't lived yet.
Yeah. For all the art he does for like layout, which is all digital in a computer, he does some amazing terrain. Also incorporating his design skills. But I mean, man, it's the and then the one that puts you on the map for all of us, like years and years and years back, was the not that 70s show, but the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
1970s.
Yes.
I did 70s, 80s, 90s, and 2000s.
Yes.
But the 70s, I made the character sheets. I actually got 8-track tapes, and I peeled the labels off, and I made the character sheets as a label on the 8-track tape. And so you had the 8-track at the table looking at the stats and playing your game. It's just something I thought was cool.
Production values is what that is. My God.
It was a lot of fun. So,
so talking about right one day. Oh, Tracy, how have we not managed this yet?
Tracy runs a fantastic
we will figure this
game.
out. We will figure that out.
Amazing.
I mean, seriously, how was that not happening? Okay, so video time. This is a great little Kickstarter video. Let's see if it works. Chris has it. If this doesn't work, but I think we're. Oh my god, that is fantastic! Oh, I love it. So, yeah, Chris, tell us like what is this concept? How'd you come up with it? I do have to mention it is great seeing kid-focused Savage Worlds games. 'Cause I think that's one part of the RPG market in general that is just underserved. So I don't have kids, so I don't really care. But I do notice that there's just not a lot of kid-aimed games, and this one looks like it's actually cooler than most kids-age games that I've seen. Just look like they treat kids like they're stupid. This does not appear to treat kids like they're stupid. So tell us, where did the idea come from, and what's going to be in the Kickstarter, sir?
Okay, well, you covered a lot of ground right there, actually, because that's the whole idea, is that we wanted to do something that was for kids, geared toward families, things that parents could play with their kids, especially that could help them introduce younger kids to role playing. Like I do have a kid. My son, he's a grown man now, but I wish I had something like this when he was younger. We played board games a lot, but he didn't really play RPGs until he was in college. But in the Dust Bunnies setting, what we're doing is it's really a setting. You play sentient balls of dust and lint and hair that go on adventures inside and around your house. We really use pretty much all of the Suede rule set. Some things in there don't apply to Dust Bunnies, like driving and piloting and science. But we've also added some new things, new edges. We've adapted some skills. We have some new hindrances. And as you saw in the video, we showed off some of the stuff. Dust Bunnies like to make mischief. So we've added mischief as a core skill. Whether it's hiding the biped's keys or collecting treasures, Dust Bunnies call them baubles. Mischief is really a guiding principle in the game. And Chris, you made me feel great when you said it doesn't look like it's playing down. We don't want it to be. In fact, we call it a game for heroes of all ages. And the idea is that adults could play this and kids could play it and adults can play with kids and it'll be fun to do. So we really like the Savage Worlds rules, so we're using them, but we're building a setting around it here, under the couch, and that's the subtitle of the core book is Life Under the Couch. So there's all kinds of things that we do in there. Dust Bunnies prefer to outwit and trick their adversaries, so mostly that means they do tests instead of attacks, and so Dust Bunnies call these Trixes, and we have a full set of Trixes edges that pretty much replace the combat edges. And we have a creative Trixes table that's used when you get a raise on a test. It also is used with some of the powers. We have some powers in there too that are Dust Bunny specific. They rarely, if ever, attack, but they do like to do Trixes and acquire baubles. So not really to accumulate wealth, just for the sheer challenge of it. They like to collect stuff, and they like to do mischief. Like I said, if you've ever lost a sock and wonder what happened to it or can't find your keys, now you know. So another thing we've done is we're substituting a skill called defense for fighting. Now, combat still works the same as Savage Worlds. We're not changing any of the combat. But what we're doing is saying Dust Bunnies have a different philosophy. And so they have a skill called defense, which works just like fighting in most ways, except they probably won't attack. Your parry is derived from defense. And so everything will align, and other creatures will still have fighting. So we're not getting rid of fighting. It's just not what Dust Bunnies do. And so my main example of that is, why should the house cat care about the Dust Bunny philosophy? If the house cat wants to swipe at you, he's going to use fighting. So that's one of the big things. You might have noticed the Let's Roll. So Let's Roll is something we talk about a lot. Dust Bunnies move by rolling. They don't really have limbs, even though you'll see in some of the illustrations, which are beautiful. We can talk about that too. We have a great illustrator, Manuel Margot Hess. And But the Dust Bunnies, it's more about movement. It really is their philosophy. It embodies their valued principles, such as safety in numbers, working together, moving, rolling in unison, and supporting a common cause. It can mean anything from, let's go do this, to let's talk about this, to, hey, that's a great idea, So Let's Roll is sort of an ongoing thing. We use it in a lot of our marketing for the Kickstarter. Dust Bunnies really like teamwork too. So again, Let's Roll is, let's go do this together. We talk about all that stuff in a setting rules section. We also have a Dust Bunny Tactics section and a section called Play with Your Kids, which is pretty important. That's something that we're still working a lot on. Most of the core book is written, but that's the part we're really, focusing on now and trying to make sure we have lots of good tips and ways to play with your kids. My son right now, actually, or this week, is playtesting the game with some kids. So that's pretty fun. And getting some good feedback about that already. Carl always reminds me of stuff. Carl, what did I
Arcane Backgrounds, we got
see, I told you.
Three
new
ones.
You can talk about it. Yeah,
I was going to ask if you could be blessed or arcane in this, and I was like, I really want to play a blessed Dust Bunny. That sounds.
So we are using right now. We only have 3 in the core book. Now that doesn't mean we wouldn't expand that, but right now there's 3, and one of them is gifted, and that pretty much works the same as you'd be used to. Another one is we call Mind Over Matter, and that's very similar to psionics, but Dust Bunnies don't like big words like that, fancy words. So Mind Over Matter.
That's too much.
Yeah. And then the last one is Carl's idea. It's a beautiful idea. We're calling it the Roober, Roober, and that is based on an ancient dust bunny who discovered magic and powers, and his name was Rube Oldrug. And so Rube Oldrug, you may get the connection there, he figured out how to do magic with baubles. And it's going to be, it's very similar to Weird Science.
Oh, that's going to be cool. I like the sound of that.
Yeah, so you'd be a Ruber, and you would have the skill called Rubit, and then there's a Rubeteer, advanced edge that you can get.
Yeah.
So we're playing around with a lot of that. Again, we're sticking to the core rules pretty much, but we're introducing adaptations and variations and flavor, that goes in the Dust Bunny world. So yeah, I'm sure people are going to want to be a Ruber. Go ahead.
As long as I can play an arcane background, Dust Bunny, I'm in. I'm in. That is insane. From Shark Attack.
Dust Bunnies, right? So one of the things we wanted to do is have magic in it. And one of the things we say in the book is, magic exists. Every Dust Bunny knows that.
Right.
Yeah. Well, it's a common fact of Dust Bunny life.
Right. So that's pretty fun. That Carl's idea for that thing, and together we talked about it and came up with the Rube Oldrug.
Rube Oldrug,
yeah. That's fantastic. Yep. Did I sense a Fasolati Do naming convention maybe in there too? Did I pick that up?
Yeah, so that you led us right into the next thing. Thank you.
But ching! Look at this. I'm going to just turn it over to Isaac. Isaac can run this show.
So part of the core book is we have what we call a ready-to-roll band of pre-generated Dust Bunnies, and that's the 7 of them you saw in the video, and we continue to update them a little bit as we play test. But yes, the seven Dust Bunnies are Do, Re, Mi, Fa, Sol, La, Ti, Do. Well, that's 8. If you have to play 8 characters, you just add the Do. Just say it in a lower register or a higher register.
That's Do. This is Do.
That's right. So
it's a much more serious sibling. Do.
We also have a coloring book we're making.
The coloring book, that's a lot of fun. So again, the illustrations we've done some of them already, and that leads us to the Kickstarter. One of the main things we're doing with the Kickstarter, and the reason we're raising funds this way, and it is our first ever Kickstarter. We've been producing products for 20 years, but we've never done a Kickstarter before. And the main reason is we want to do more art, and it's hard for us to afford that in the like Carl said, shoestring budget we operate on. What we usually have to do is we do a product, we make a little money, we reinvest that in art for the next product and so forth. So what we'd like to do is do that all at once. And we have all these ideas. You saw them all in the video, and many of them are already underway. Some of them are still being worked on. And what we really want to do is commission some more art from Manuel, who does all the art. And so the coloring book, as Carl said, very cool. So all the art that Manuel does for us is in black and white, and so we're producing a coloring book, so you can get that in the package. When you pledge on Kickstarter, and kids can color it. And Carl made some character sheets that you can.
Wait! There are going to be lots of adults coloring it. Let's just be real here. I am backing this for the coloring book.
Well, you can color the character sheets too, because the character sheets we made space so you can draw your own dust bunny, and we made it also black and white with the pre-drawn dust bunnies, so you can color those guys in too, however you want to.
That's so cool.
And Carl is just a brilliant graphic designer. I know you've heard that before. He's done the trade dress for many products, that you've probably looked at and maybe never seen his name, including Savage Worlds Adventure Edition. And he's doing. I throw out ideas and he goes, "Oh!" and the next day there it is. And I'm like, "Wow."
Yeah, let's take that idea and make it beautiful. That's how I feel every time I work with graphic or artists. I'm like, "Here's an idea, and here's like a stick figure on a napkin." And they're like, "Oh."
That's exactly how the video happened. I did a bunch of mocked up terrible slides, and the next day Carl had all beautiful slides based on my ideas. So,
He gave me the blueprint.
And then I edited the video after he gave me all the stuff. That's that. Like I said, the Ready to Roll Band of Dust Bunnies, the coloring book, all those dust bunnies are in the coloring book. The image that's on the cover with the vacuum cleaner, that's in the coloring book, and you can color that yourself. The spiders. Chris, I don't know if you have all that, but I could probably share.
Oh yeah, yeah. So you could, at the bottom, hit plus share, and you can pull your screen up, man.
I'll do that.
I love if I could talk about healing.
Go ahead.
Healing just a bit. I love how Chris came up with the healing. He calls it big hugs, and so that's the image right there. So to heal another dust bunny, they give each other hugs. So
yeah,
I just think that's fantastic.
Hugs is the skill, and big hugs is the power.
Is the power, yes.
And it's no big deal if you still call it healing. That's just what the dust bunnies call
it. This is the most wholesome. This is the most wholesome path. We're talking westerns and Unforgiven and others, and we're going to talk about dust bunnies, and I'm like, oh, I can imagine a game about some like dusty trail hands. This isn't going to go super well for them, I'm guessing, with like the bunny's name, and then actual dust bunnies popped up, and my sheer delight. That what do? We hug each other. That's what we're doing. We're hunting down baubles. Oh my goodness.
We're hunting baubles, and they do face danger. Like we showed, this is the cover of Novice Adventures. So there's a quick start adventure in the core book, but then we also have the Novice Adventures underway. One of them's written, and there's 2 more that are in the works. But we want more art for that too. But again, this is also in a black and white in the coloring book. So this is how Carl colored it for the cover, but you can draw, you can color it in however you want. And so that's another fun one. I love that image.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Manuel Magalhaes, he's just brilliant. He's Brazilian, and we send him like a couple of sentences, and then he draws it. It's amazing. It's like he's reading our mind. Here's
Art wizards, right?
Yeah.
Oh my god, this is so fun. So is there a bestiary? We've got spiders, we've got hamsters and balls. Like it sounds like.
So we have a friends and foes section in the core book, and then there will be others, in the Novice Adventures, and other stuff that we come out with. We'll continue to add creatures in there, but a lot of them are stuff that you might not think is a monster, but if you're a dust bunny the size of a penny, humans are like titans.
Yeah.
The house cat is a serious monster. And of course, one thing that's very important, and I probably should show the cover of the main book again while I'm talking about it, but dust bunnies abhor a vacuum. Right? So,
gotta watch out for that.
I quit.
Oh my god, the dad jokes! I love it. Yes.
Yeah, dad jokes are throughout, right? So this is on the cover, but again, it's also, it's also in the coloring book. You can color it however you want, but in the quick start adventure, one of the monsters that they have to encounter is, of course, a vacuum.
Oh my god!
Roombas must be terrifying. Right, like it's just this automaton of destruction.
Right. There's also a variant. If you want, you can play the Doomba instead of the regular vacuum thing. So we again, a lot of play on words, a lot of fun dad jokes. I think that's a brilliant description.
Well, I mean, if you're playing with kids, like kind of like The Simpsons, right? There's like the multiple levels. There's the levels the kids are going to get, and they'll get more and more as they get older. But you have something for the adults in there to keep it, so the adults' brains are still getting the jokes and the humor and the fun, and I love that. So, when are you guys thinking about kicking this off? We've dropped the link in chat a couple times. Let me see. I can share a screen. There is a landing page for your Kickstarter. So if you guys, it's not live yet, but if you want to go and remind yourself, everybody watching, that there is a Kickstarter. Let's see. Can I grab
Thanks. That would be awesome. That would be awesome if you did that. So Carl and I, we've been working on the Kickstarter page for a while and all that. But we just, yesterday, I guess, day before, set a date in stone that we're going to do it, and that's 1 week from tonight. So
hot damn. Okay.
July 21st, we will go live with that Kickstarter. We will launch it around this time on the 21st.
Sweet. So link is in the comments. It's kickstarter.com. Projects DHR-DBS Dust Bunnies Life Under the Couch. That is fantastic. Yes, we will guys have you back on during your Kickstarter because that's amazing. And we definitely have to have Mr. Sunset back, but because in the whole group we actually have time. We even need to pre-record because Caleb, when you get Caleb going on Terminus, there's so much that Caleb is like amazing. But so for these last 15 minutes we got, I want to spread some news, and this is the reason I brought you guys together, because I think this is like a match made in heaven for this. So Pinnacle is really proud to announce that we are going to allow Carl and Chris to produce official PEG material in the settings. So the very first ACE licensees granted this privilege. Nice. We love the crunch and the fluff and the look and everything you guys do. And there's not enough of us in-house to get all the things done. So whatever piques Carl's and Chris's minds and the rest of the guys that talk about rules, so that it could be Deadlands, it could be Rippers, it can be whatever they want to do. We're gonna see a little trial period. No, not trial period, but this is a test to see if it works for these guys. But we are super pleased to be able to announce that there will be more official setting PEG stuff coming, and Carl and Chris are going to lead the way. And the reason I wanted you guys to meet the Sounds Like Crows boys is I would love to see some collaboration between Sounds Like Crows and Doghouse Rules on some Deadlands stuff. I'm just saying.
That would be cool. That would be
right?
cool.
I don't have permission from Shane to say this, but this is, this is my own little dream right now. And I helped my own little way of making Holler a reality by being like, hey, this cool guy, Tim, you should meet Shane. Shane, this cool guy, Tim. So this, if I have any sway at all, I would love for there to be a Doghouse Rules, Sounds Like Crows crossover, even if it's just an adventure or something cool. But I think the whole team at Sounds Like Crows has got great Deadlands ideas.
Oh, yeah,
and we just don't have the time in house to do it, right? I mean, we've got these big Deadlands projects that take years in the making, but try to incorporate more into the schedule. It's tough, right? That's the only reason we wouldn't do it. But yeah, and I know you guys are all excited to hear the fans screaming right now because it's awesome. But we just broke the news to Carl and Chris, so there's nothing in the works already, guys. We're a little dangerous on this.
Guys. Congrats, that's fantastic. That is fantastic. What a rich setting to get to play in. My gosh, how long have you guys been playing Deadlands?
I've been playing since the Orange Books, so yeah. On and off.
I don't even know what those are. So
the original before Savage Worlds.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Hashtag worth it.
More recently for me, but I enjoyed Deadlands. I borrow from it in my traditional game too. So
Oh yeah,
it's fantastic. Yeah.
Such an evocative setting. There's no other good. Well, I don't know if it's a hot take. I've never played another good Western setting, and I feel like you can dial up or down the supernatural, the horror aspects of it as much or as little as you want, right? We rapidly ratcheted it up over the course of the 5 seasons, but you can run a bog standard Western in that universe, and it feels good. It feels scary, man. I don't know. People tell me about back in the day doing shootouts with cards. Was that a system? Duels with cards?
Yeah, original Deadlands.
Original Deadlands. Yeah.
And there are still a ton of fans of original Deadlands just because things like the Huckster and that were more, just more crunch, where there were individual crunch, and
sure.
Yes, Jackie, that's my dog. That's Hannibal. He's hiding over yes.
Oh yeah, but I have tons of ideas for Deadlands, ETU. I ran ETU, the Degrees of Horror campaign. I ran it 3 times with 3 different groups. So Deadlands I've been playing since forever. So
What's your favorite bit of Deadlands lore, esoteric or non?
oh gosh,
Just like the little thing that tickles you every time it comes up.
little thing. Well, I'm kind of partial to the Ghost Rock. I just love that cool. It's just so cool.
Yeah.
I love. I haven't played Deadlands. I usually run it, but
Yeah.
the weird scientists, or the mad scientists, I guess, in Deadlands. I just love that whole concept where it's just that crazy element that you can do crazy stuff with it. You know, it's just it's so cool. What about you?
I'm with you on the Ghost Rock. I freaking love Ghost Rock. And it's a weird scenario. I one time I ran a game where I just straight ripped off Metal Gear Solid 3 and I reskinned every boss into Deadlands, and that was the game.
Wow.
I just love the ability of it to go whatever direction you want. But I'm a big fan of duels, man. High noon duels, that is westerns to me, right? That's baseball, that's westerns, that's what I want, some high noon duels. So anytime I can get into a duel, I know that's not Deadlands lore technically. Ghost Rock's definitely up there though.
Ghost Rock is the first thing I thought of too when you asked that question.
Well, and that brings to mind, I mean, it's kind of like rolling off of Isaac's observation that, like, kind of every other Western in the RPG world, even recent ones, are so derivative of Deadlands. I mean, it set the tone for the whole genre. Stuff like Shadows of Brimstone, like the board game, those guys ripped off Deadlands like 99.5%. Like they renamed Ghost Rock Brimstone, and everything else is just like right from Deadlands. And like Chance is a good guy; he didn't like sue them into oblivion at all. But I mean, I would have like what? But
I admit I'm a terrible RPG player. I played Deadlands. And that's kind of it. I show up for Caleb when he schedules me, and then I move on. Because if I'm not doing that, I want to do like just straight standard fantasy. I want Scottish Irish dwarves, right? I want hoity-toity elves. I want numerous humans. Like I want the most tropey fantasy that I can get. But man, it's westerns. Westerns are where the heart is. That's where the stories come through.
For sure.
I mean, if you think about it too, it's a natural like the the reason we go medieval. Sorry, I'm just gonna cough all over the place. Is like you've got, in history, true history, you've got times of like rapid change, but it also they're appealing for adventurers and storytelling because the veil of society. There's not a whole lot of like. You can be an adventurer and not be held super accountable for every little thing you do. Like, the challenges that face you and then the things you go do are because, like, I love Ancient Rome. It'd be very hard to play an Ancient Rome game if you're not at war because society covers your stuff. Or you have a big oppressive society and you can just, there's lead pipes in the water, whatever. But I mean, the idea of adventure is that you get to go do stuff and you need to go do stuff. And if you're sitting in a cozy high civilization that's there's nothing threatening you, there's not a lot of stories to tell. Like there's no great stories, right?
You know what that makes me think of? You could do an interesting Dogs in the Vineyard game in Hillside Rome as like a Praetorian or something. That would be interesting.
I'm so sorry that guy ran away from that game. But the guy who originally published it just. Anyways, keep going, guys.
Lore bit. The Ranger's Bible. I'm going to change my answer. Ranger's Bible. Codexes are so cool. Like, I know it's not actually a codex, right? Codexes are the little things. But like those repositories of knowledge where it's like all truth and answers are in this thing. If you can get it, I'm a sucker for those because you can lie to players.
Yeah.
That's the default.
Well, what good is a source of truth if it's not false in a little way, right? Oh my goodness.
Well, and that makes for payoffs later on, right? Because you can't have a surprise. There's no shocking third act in a arc if players know the truth from the beginning and everything is true. Like, there's no sixth sense, there's no betrayal, there's none of that like last minutes that you can pull, right? So being able to like lie convincingly to players is one of the best parts of the game, I think.
Either that or just switch genres after episode 1. That's also a good time.
Ooh.
Caleb and I only tell one type of story, and it's tragedy. That's the only story we do. It doesn't matter if we're playing Dread, my probably second favorite setting to run, other like Savage Worlds and then Dread for the kind of stories we like to tell.
Because you are gonna die. It's just a matter of
Oh,
time.
Yeah,
I love Dread. I love
Yeah,
Dread.
Carl and I have a thing in the works about that uses dreads.
Nice.
That might be using
Yeah.
something with that.
Yeah.
No, I love that game. My favorite games with Dread were like, I mean, I've got big, clumsy hands. Like, they're like basketball player size hands. So, like, very little finesse. But for some reason, I'm really good at not knocking down the Jenga tower. So I played a villain in one. I turned on all the players in the group, and they were all still alive, and they all tried to kill me during a Dread game. And I survived every single last one of them. And it got so intense, people were filming it, hoping I would, like, the last character would kill me. Nope, I'm popping out the dreads, and the other players, one by one, are crashing the tower. I mean, zoom out, but okay, I'm back. See, they tried to kill me. They're still trying to kill me.
Still trying to get him.
And it's still gonna work.
Before I was running a bunch of Savage Worlds convention games, Dread was my thing. I would take that to Gen Con every year.
Such a good convention game.
I would have other tables stop playing and looking at our game because they were just watching the tower and listening to the story, and they're just like, "What am I doing over here?"
Yep.
Fantastic.
There is such a connection with that game, and like just the mechanics of the game feed into the narrative so freaking well. I think that's why I like blowing up dice too, right? Like the whole like, oh no, this is a bad moment. I think like that spikiness fits the horror of Deadlands really well.
It's awesome.
You can go from soak. I'm gonna soak all this shit. I got bennies for days. I made lots of jokes early and made my DM happy. And then he blows up that stupid 2d10. It just hurts.
That's awesome.
It's glorious.
Good stuff.
Well, so we know the upcoming thing for you boys downstairs below is the Dust Bunnies Kickstarter. Isaac, we got a couple more minutes. Give us a little recap of what's gone on so far this season at Terminus, and then I think you just dropped an episode, right? So maybe you could tell us what's in that episode for folks who haven't seen it yet. But
sure. So put on my best storyteller voice here. The Crow family, as I mentioned, they have the exclusive monopoly on edicts, which are guns that can theoretically extract people's souls depending on who you talk to in the universe. And there's been some trouble. I think our first couple episodes, my character Kaz was hosting the world's most extravagant party to elect the new Supreme Court justice or the arbiter of that planet. And I played the polar opposite of Abel in this campaign. I went full social, full face. Well, Abel was a face. Let's be honest. Abel was the diplomatic face of that party. Yes, thank you, Jackie. So in the first couple episodes, we host a very extravagant party to sort of highlight the world that exists in the civilized section. And then after some, I don't know how much I should spoil here, but for the shenanigans that ensue in those first couple episodes, we learn a terrible thing has happened, that there might be people out there counterfeiting these things, which we as a family, we need to shut that down because we have to protect our copyright, as you rightly highlighted earlier, right? Instead of lawsuits, we do it with bullets, guns, hacking, assassinations, and things. Well, it's standard corporate welfare. And then we cut the last couple episodes have featured two of the more wild brothers. While Kaz likes to solve the social problems of the family, Keaton and Jethro, they're out there in the trenches. They're the hackers, the ones that are actually, well, they like to say they're doing the actual work. Let's be honest. Words have solved way more problems than guns ever have. That's just the way it is, right? They're just the dumb guns in the family. They can get mad at me later for that one. But they're out there tracking down these counterfeiters while I'm doing my best to make it illegal. I think that's where we're at. I think we're about 6 or 7 episodes ahead of that in recording. So it's always tough to remember like what's come out and what have we recorded. But that's where we're at. We're continuing to explore, set the planet, set the universe. We're big on the the thing Lucas did in the original Star Wars a lot, where he would just say a thing and then never explain what it was. The Clone Wars, and then just never explain what
The
it
Kessel
was.
Run, yes.
Exactly, exactly. Oh, I'm fighting real hard getting on that soapbox with you guys. That's our very much our style. So if you like a world where we're going to drop a bunch of stuff and you're going to have to listen along and build it up, like that's the kind of jam that we do.
I just bookmarked your page. I've never listened to it, but I'm going to now.
Oh, you are welcome. A whole new world, Mr. Warner. It is fantastic.
Original. I'll give you the pitch for. Well, did you listen to original Sounds Like Crows? I should say, or just not,
no,
neither one. Neither one. Great. Original Sounds Like Crows. It's a good time. Our production values, like I said, I'll apologize because of. I think even for the time, honestly, for what we released, it was very, very good.
It's
episode
good.
1
Oh,
was
it's
very, very good.
man. Yeah.
But we've come a long way. I'd say give episode 1 of both a listen and see which kind of you vibe more with. If you want really, I'd say actually quite a good Western, the original one. I'm happy with the story. We love the way it ended. Ending stories is always tough, especially when it's a campaign that runs for so long. I don't know how Caleb pulled that off genuinely, but like, it's one of my favorite endings ever. There are a couple bits there at the end. A huge shout out to Doug and Allie Nesbitt, who stepped in and started recording for Hiram and Meadow, the parents on the show, and our flashbacks. There's some bits there at the end. We recorded the final season of the show in 4 days. We got everybody in together. We all took work off, and we just sat in a house and we recorded the entire final season in 4 days. That was intense. That was very, very intense because we wanted that last season to really feel like a very frenetic like pace of go, and we just went straight for it. And Caleb said, in retrospect, DMing 5 days, an entire season of a show in 5 days. He was like, you guys would stop recording and just go drink Jack Daniels, and I was in there like, oh my god, what's happening next? How do I do the next episode? But the last season, like I said, we recorded it all in a week and burned it through, and those final couple episodes are some of my favorite.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it.
Dinkelberg, I'm not sure. It's like 5 years. I think we're about 5 years ago for the very first episode. I'm going to double check right now. November 2017. So coming up on 5 years this November.
Nice. Yeah, I was pulling up iTunes. I was like, okay, iTunes will tell me, but it does the most recent. I'm like, oh damn.
It does, yeah. You're going to scroll forever.
Right.
You're going to scroll forever, yeah.
No, but I mean, so my little plot was to get some of the most excellent creators together on stream, make the introductions, make it happen. Sounds Like Crows,
sure.
the Western, the original is some of the best. I mean, I think it's my favorite podcast. It is fantastic from the start to finish. Mr. Warner is going to be in for a great time. There's you complain about the early value, whatever it is. The early scenes, I mean, it just pulls you in. There's just
our storytelling early on was so good. It was so good, and even from like day one, like one of our big things, right, was like we mic'd everybody up. We edit super heavily, right? Like it's a 2-to-1 ratio of edited content down, and then we just feel bad because like now we got art, we got musicians involved, like and we're like, oh, there's no soundtrack for the original, but. I don't know. That theme, the original Crows theme, still makes me very happy. Thank you for having me on, Chris.
Yeah, we'll have you. We'll definitely invite it back on when we get a couple of episodes out, and we'll get all the boys on to talk more about the. But I mean, I feel sad we can't do too many spoilers because secrets. I pulled some strings. I'm like, hey, I want to know about what. Give me spoilers, and they did. And this world that you guys have developed it is rich. There's depth. It is like Dune and Game of Thrones and space and a little bit of Flash. I mean, but just the some of this I can't spoil it. I'm such a spoiler. It is great. I mean, there's so much thought behind this that I really do think that this is I hope I see this on a big screen someday. I mean, that's kind of the quality I think that you guys have gone for in the at least in the ambition of storytelling. this isn't throwaway back of the pad 2 days of, there's depth here that I think could be really nice. And since you guys are upping your production values, like, you got to get the Doghouse Rules guys, because they have production values all over the place. And if we want to get you guys published, which I think would be great, I think it'd be great
I feel
to
you on
see.
that art, man. I feel you on that art. Yeah.
Right.
Brilliant.
So thank you guys all. So check out the Dust Bunnies Kickstarter. It is starting 1 week from today. It is on Thursday. What
Get
is
it.
it? The 21st?
Somebody in chat said to play Magnificent Seven with Dust Bunnies. You
Oh,
absolutely need to do that. Oh
Right?
my gosh.
Great idea.
And then you realize that, like, you play the flashback with, like, tatami mats, and you go to Japan for the original Kurosawa version, right? I mean, and then
that's the next layer. You tell everyone.
That's awesome.
Right? And it's just like, there's so much goodness there. And so yes, guys, look forward to Dust Bunny. Sounds amazing. Terminus is, I think, I don't know yet. It's still early to say if its top sounds like Crows. I mean, obviously the production values are fantastic, and you guys are definitely. I mean, I love the art. If you have art, it just says, okay, this needs to be a setting now. It needs to be a show. Anyways, it's all good stuff. You guys produce my favorite thing. So, thanks for joining us, folks. We will be back again another week for another showcase. But we will have all these guys back on because they produce the things you guys love, and we love them for that. So that's our hour. We appreciate you. Take it easy, folks. Thanks again, Carl, Chris, and Isaac.
Cheers.
Thank you.